So happy the soldier who lives on his pay and spends half a crown out of sixpence a day. Yet fears neither justices, warrants, nor bums, but pays all his debts with a roll of his drums. With a rowdy-dow, 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 dow, and he pays all his debts with a roll of his drums. He cares not a monody how the world goes. His king finds his quarters, his money and clothes. He laughs at all sorrow whenever it comes, and he rattles away with a roll of his drums. With a rowdy-dow, 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 dow, and he pays all his debts with a roll of his drums. The drum is his glory, his joy, his delight. It leads him to pleasure as well as to fight. No girl when she hears it, though ever so glum, but packs up her tatters and follows the drum. With a rowdy-dow, 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 dow, and packs up her tatters and follows the drum.
Get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your sweetheart not to pine, to be proud her boys in line. Over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there, over there, over there. Send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. And we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. Get ready for the Jubilee, hurrah, hurrah. Give the hero 3 times 3, hurrah, hurrah. For the laurel wreath is ready now to place upon his loyal brow, and we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. And we'll all feel gay when Johnny comes marching home. In 1861, hurrah, hurrah, that was when the war begun, hurrah, hurrah. In 1862, both sides were falling to, and we'll all drink stone wine when Johnny comes marching home. And we'll all drink stone wine when Johnny comes marching home. In 1863, hurrah, hurrah, old lady ended slavery, hurrah, hurrah. In 1863, old lady ended slavery, and we'll all drink stone wine when Johnny comes marching home. And we'll all drink stone wine when Johnny comes marching home. In 1864, hurrah, hurrah, it called for 500,000 more, hurrah, hurrah. In 1865, they called.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? For the love of God, please say yes. Because I spent a lot of time today trying to make this work, and I'm really, really hoping it does. Hi, welcome back to the least comfortable show on the web. It's The System is Down, where we talk about all the uncomfortable topics like conspiracies, politics, religion, and nerd shit. Libertarian nerd shit, to be exact. Lots and lots of that. Oh, I should mute you guys while you're in the green room. Cool. Yeah, we're gonna do some of that nerd shit today because all around the Twitter sphere for the Libertarians, all I see is people bitching and screaming at each other and having these stupid debates about nonsense. And so I was like, hey, I want a piece of that pie. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna exercise the free markets and capitalism, take advantage of rage bait, and all that fun stuff that we do here on YouTube. I've got two very dear friends, two very dear Daves to me that we'll be introducing shortly. But before we do that, go out, share the show with your friends, and let's get this show on the road. Oh, I gotta remind you about you guys in the Downers Club. People like that first one's new, so I should probably say it. Abrogate authoritarians. You guys don't make this easy. Abrogate authoritarians. Michael, Mark, Scott, Gerhardt, Maxwell, Meredith, Jennifer H, Kimberly something, Grumpy Gnome, JC, Justico, Adam, Donald, Leah, Zareth Anarchy, Hefflumps Woozles, Level 0, Stephen Hartman, Rick Duran, Craig DeCosta, Anthony Meyer, John Odermatt. If you want to get your name on this list and have it read incorrectly someday, go on over to patreon.com/The System is Down, where you'll get more weird, more raw, more offensive, more content whenever I feel like it. I doubt we're going to do an after party again today because we'll probably just keep the party going here for you. Quantity over quality. But if you want the ad-free versions, if you want to support the show, if you want to get all the backlog of all that stuff, patreon.com/The System is Down. Now, again, go out, share the show with your friends. I don't want to spend too much more time here, but we got to roll the intro, and you got to go share it, and we're going to get going. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get bitchy.
All I ask is, if we have to give these bastards our lives, we give them hell before we do!
The tragedy of our day is the climate of fear in which we live.
Talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing.
I would ask the congressman to withdraw that comment and tell us that he didn't really mean that. I don't know what I said. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
The Bible commands that certain people be put to death.
Thieves were possessing weapons of mass destruction. 9/11 attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda.
Handle the truth.
Jack Nicholson on beat is on point.
We have to say yes to social justice.
No, it's a big club, and you ain't in it.
There we go. We're getting it. We're getting it in. It's working, I think. Y'all can hear the sounds and the things, right? Hopefully you can also hear my guests, who we will bring in right now. Here we go. Here we go. We are joined by two lovely Daves here. We've got, of course, the ever young Dave Casey, who is here way more often than I would prefer. But we are also joined by a new Dave, a new coming Dave. David Fite from Fite for Liberty. David, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
You are quite welcome. And people in the chats, I'm not going to do this the whole time, but please, once and for all, let me know. Can you hear their mics? Can you hear everything? Is everything good? If so, we will move on. But Dave Casey, my brother, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I feel like this is my house at this point. Don't fucking forget it, Smots. I'm moving in to this show.
And thank you for joining us today, Dave Casey. It has been an absolute pleasure having you.
My man. Yo, good to be here. Thanks for the opportunity on a Monday night special, dude. Yes. I appreciate it.
Yes, very special. And hopefully David is not completely frozen. David, are you still with us, sir?
I'm still here. I don't know what happened to my camera. I'll be back.
All right.
I'll be seeing it.
Cool. Yeah, and if you need to jump out and jump back in, you should be good to go. But if you want to do that before we get going, you can. But we're just gonna dive right into this. If I'll set this up for a minute. If you want to hop out and hop back on, see if it fixes your camera. But this is the Kennedy debate, not the one against Kennedy and a couple libertarians who paid $5,000 to speak against somebody who they think they're at the same level at. This is the Kennedy debate where we talk about whether or not Kennedy is Dave, you and I have talked about this a lot on the show, whether or not RFK is a good idea to, to come into our party and take it over for our ballot access. And then he gets, that, and we get a Kennedy as a libertarian candidate. So that's what we're here discussing today. And it's not going to be like super tight rules. You guys know how I do. It'll be a lot of conversationalness, just a lot of panel discussion. And then if you guys are talking over each other, I'll tell you to shut the fuck up. But there is, I do have a 2-minute opener for both of you to get started here. So if you'd like to lay out your case, and we'll start with, so basically nobody here is completely pro or anti RFK, or maybe one is anti RFK. There's a little bit of nuance because libertarians can't just give solid answers. But do you guys care who goes first? It doesn't matter to me.
Well, real quick, before we go first or give any introductions, let's just give a little bit of background to why David and I are having this conversation instead of just anybody, right? So I tweeted the other day or retweeted somebody who said, hey, man, this is a libertarian, by the way, Captain and Capistan, I think his name is on Twitter.
Yeah.
He said something to the effect of, yo, if libertarians put up RFK, at least that's a referendum, like a national referendum on the COVID regime. I was like, I didn't even really think about it like that before, but like, okay, like if that's your thing, at least like that serves some utility. I thought running it before Rec got in the game, I was like, we should get Ross Ulbricht to run for president. Like that could be a national campaign that you could, make an issue out of, right? Like make that a referendum on Ross and what that means, right? So that was appealing to me.
Similar idea there.
I guess. You guess what, bro?
No.
Tonight's not about Joe Exotic. I'm not
Not
defending
yet.
that guy.
Not yet.
So I, I retweeted that and I said something to the effect of, well, this is a better option than at least 3 or 4 of the current batch of Libertarian Party candidates. And full disclosure, as if I haven't said it 5 or 6 times on this show before, I work with the Rec campaign. I support the most, one of, if not the most radical Libertarian Party candidates, not only in the race right now, but that we've had in 20 years. Yeah. So, my bona fides aren't in question. I don't think. If we want to talk about that, we can. But I'm about as radical as it gets, and that's what I would like to support. But that's kind of what I want to use this conversation for, selfishly, is to, and maybe there's a little bit of a troll aspect to it, but I'm trying to make this a conversation about, like, either you go for the radical option, which is Rec, or perhaps Josh or Toad. I'll entertain that. Or you should consider, if you're going to sell out for, Termot or Lars or Chase, God forbid, then you might as well sell out for the gusto, for all the gusto, because we've already established that you're a prostitute. So now we're just negotiating on price, right? I mean, that's
at some point this counts toward your opening time, Dave. But please continue.
Give me 30 more seconds, and then you can roll right into his 2 minutes. Let's add on again. So I'm not here to advocate that the Libertarian Party should get behind RFK. All I'm saying is that's not the worst choice out there right now from a pragmatic stance. Again, I already established that I'm the most radical guy in the room. But if you want to talk about strategy and what we could do to what actually might bolster liberty and what the purpose of the Libertarian Party is and the Libertarian Party presidential candidate, we can get deeper into that. But for right now, I'll say, I got my guy, but I understand why some people are poking around the RFK.
Thank you, Dave. We're going to move on now to opening comments, which, I mean, Dave, did you, if I were, you said before opening comments, would you have any opening statements other than that? Because that's basically your argument, right?
That's basically my argument. And I'll take it one step further. If the Libertarian Party is unable or unwilling after the presidential election, post Mises Caucus takeover, to put up a radical anarcho-capitalist, then you really, the takeover failed, but 2, you should consider getting whatever you can, because if you end up with one of these braggadocious guys, you'll get nothing for it, nothing at all.
Braggadocious. I like that. Make the shirt. All right, David Fite, You can respond. You can give opening statements. You can do whatever you want. 2 minutes.
All right. I guess it'll be a little bit of both. So first of all, my biggest issue with RFK is that he isn't a referendum on the COVID regime. He's a referendum on a portion of it, and it's a portion that has been his career for the last 20 years. He was pro lockdowns. He was pro mask mandates. He was made people show vaccines to come to private events at his house. He completely fell for the regime and backed it until it became his bread and butter, what he's used to making money off of. And so he took that angle, which, as a capitalist, I respect that. But at the same time, you don't get a whole lot of political points, to me, for staying on something that's just been your career for years. As far as having to be an ANCAP as the presidential candidate, I'm an anarchist. Most of my friends are anarchists, but I feel like most of the people who are looking into elections, who are going to show up to vote, are going to be easier won over by a minarchist, as gross as that sounds saying out loud. I don't like minarchists. I think that they're logically flawed, but I think that it's, in a lot of cases, the first step to someone becoming a libertarian, especially if they're already a pragmatic enough person to think that they can vote themselves into freedom, which I think is ludicrous. But if they are that kind of a person and that's how they're going to find the party, like I did a decade ago, then it's going to be through a campaign that gives them a little bit of hope, like the Lars campaign.
Well, okay. Do you think that would you classify Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as a minarchist because he has been for lesser government? David Fite, I'm curious.
Sorry.
No, he's he's adamantly pro bigger government in enough areas to where I wouldn't call him anything within the tent of libertarianism.
Sure. Okay, so basically the argument here, Fite, I'm gonna go with Fite. It's gonna be hard with the Daves. Fite, you're going with RFK is not better than any libertarian candidate, and Dave, you're saying he's basically better than some of the candidates. Is that basically the gist of this?
Yeah, I guess.
Go ahead.
So,
like I said, I still can't back up Toad, but I'll back up the rest of them.
Toad is above all of them at this point, but Dave, go ahead.
So no, I don't think it's a fool's errand to argue that RFK is a better libertarian than any of our candidates. I'm not making that argument. I'm saying, and this is what I would look for, and I think most Americans outside of this party and in it, this is what you should kind of consider. Like when you look at a candidate, you should ask yourself, like, what can you do for me? And what can you do for my people? And there's a difference, by the way, to guys like Chase who are asking, like, well, what have you done? Or like, what have you done within the party? That's not what I'm asking. I don't need a loyalty test. I'll give you a purity test because I want to know that you're a radical libertarian or what you can do. But I don't care if you spent time in the party or if you didn't, as long as you were doing stuff that was a net positive for the movement or for the world. So with that said, RFK, clearly not as good of a libertarian on the issues as economist Mike Termott. But Mike Termott had his sleeve rolled up in a parking lot somewhere in 2021 on the job as a COVID cop, collecting taxes from you to enforce mandates, while RFK was on a book tour warning millions of people not to take the Fauci ouchie. So most people are single issue voters, and I'm becoming one. And that's up there at the top. And I think most people would agree, libertarians and otherwise, that the COVID era was the most egregious power grab in our lifetime, 9/11 included, right? So to be right on that stuff, we're not talking about, people want to argue about whatever, civil rights, or, you go back further than that, or the Civil War, or, people want to talk about reparations. Like, this was 4 years ago. All the receipts are there. Some of the people are still in power. Some of them are starting to scatter. You can see that because they don't want to be there when Nuremberg 2 comes rolling around. But I'm interested in COVID justice. So a referendum is very appealing to me. And when you're looking at these issues like a big picture, that means an awful lot. So I'm not going to go into like why RFK has good, he's got some good qualities beyond that too, man. He's went after, awful corporations through, like corporate capture, like Monsanto, DuPont, Dow, these corporations are guilty not only of like pure fascism, like the revolving door between, like the FDA and the CDC and all these things and these corporations, but fluoride in the water. Do you guys consider that a NAP violation? I do.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? No libertarians are going hard on that. Only RFK was. So I know he's not that's very clear to everybody here and everybody watching. He's not a libertarian. Agreed. But if you can dull, and I know he's not a Democrat anymore, but if you can dull the blade of the Democratic machinery, if you can take that apparatus and make it a little less lethal, that's a win for liberty. You know what I mean? If you can move the left just a little bit, shave off a couple million from like the people that want to line you up against the wall and throw them in this RFK camp, that's better.
Sorry, is that obnoxious?
No, I love it.
No. Okay, cool.
It's great.
Yeah. Fite. Go ahead.
Well, I guess I just have a question to frame the rest of this. Do you think RFK can win?
No.
Okay.
I think he has a better chance of winning than anybody that's running as a libertarian currently.
Totally. By a long shot, but still no.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. Because that definitely makes a difference. Because if you're arguing that he has a chance and libertarians don't, that's a completely different argument. So I don't know what he actually gets us that a solidly run libertarian campaign doesn't, other than the name recognition. And we've seen before in libertarian years, or not libertarian years, but just in election years where there is a strong third party candidate, the down ballot for the LP still succeeds, whether or not the top of the ballot says LP or not. Even if our presidential candidate gets crushed, we can still have a really strong down ballot year just with RFK running in general. And especially if he's not going to get the nomination, which I don't think he would, no matter what we decide here. If he's running outside of the party, for libertarians to support him, they're getting nothing. They're not getting infrastructure. They're not getting ballot access. They're not getting federal funds. All they're getting is 8% instead of 4% in a meaningless election.
The Bill Weld argument, as many people have been making about RFK, but potentially better, but potentially worse because it's on a grander scale.
I don't think David was making the Bill Weld argument there. I don't think.
Because correct me if I'm wrong. It's fine.
Close to it. Selling out for just a few more votes doesn't get us much. And if it's not in our party, it gets us even less. At least Bill Weld was pretending to be a libertarian. RFK's not.
No, I think that's the benefit. That's a feature, not a bug. Because we tried, or I say we were convinced, or we tried to convince ourselves that Bill Weld was a libertarian. Instead, what I'm proposing is, if you guys, libertarians, can't get your shit together and you can't rally behind the radical libertarian that has been provided for you, one of two or three, then you should sell out and get paid, son. Don't sell out and go to some fucking open borders, kid transing, NATO loving, classical liberal. That's the stupidest shit you could possibly do. Because every libertarian candidate, dude, every single one, including Rec, is going to get somewhere in between 0.7 and 1.5% of the vote this year. That's because what's happening this year is once in a generation shit, like Ross Perot shit. So I would never suggest the opportunity to do this probably won't be here in 2028. I'm saying once in a 30-year opportunity comes where if you wanted to treat the party like an apparatus, like a machine. So like Angela, everybody on board, the LNC or everybody who supports the guy. And again, this is not going to happen. There's no constituency for RFK in the LP. I'm just saying if you did it, if you went that way, at least he would get all the votes that all the people are like saying that they promised they could get, 5% or 10%. Like he could actually clear those thresholds. So if the delegates could actually, push the pause button on their time preference and think maybe ahead 4 years and go, oh, wait a second, like we spend millions of dollars on all this ballot access and this is going to cost us $500,000 just in New York just to do this, and we don't even have a candidate that anybody's really thrilled about. This guy has the infrastructure. It's already built. So I'm not saying try and make him sign the Nat pledge, although that would be cool. If we could convince him to do that, then great. But
It's gonna be
I'm
tough
just
with
saying,
Israel.
absolutely. There's things about this guy that are absolutely egregious, and that's the main one. That's why this is purely utilitarian. What can you do for me and my people? Can you get me and my people millions of dollars worth of press coverage? And dude, you're talking about down ballot shit. You want to help the down ballot? Put RFK at the top. That's the way to do it. And to any libertarian out there who thinks that they're the reason that people came out and voted third party, I'm sorry, but I'm going to fucking burst your bubble right now. Whenever people get those votes, they are voting for the third box. They're not voting for you or your personality or your principles. That is not happening. So when Chase Oliver likes to tote the fact that he got 81,000 votes in Georgia, bro, where is the Chase Oliver revolution? Did you have 5,000, 10,000 people come into the party, or is your party still around 30 or 40 or 50 people? Because I've been around this party. I know how it goes, bro. We all know the Gary Johnson effect. He got 4.5 million votes. About 7,500 people came into the party, and most of them are gone. So what do you
I'm
get?
still here.
Yeah, dude, I know you were one. I think Larry Sharp is one. It's not that it doesn't happen. It's just that what's the return on investment there, David? You know what I mean? $13 million spent on that campaign for the Gary Johnson revolution. What did you get? So we should talk more about what the function, what the purpose of the LP presidential candidate is right now. Because I think that you and some other people like Lars and like Chase and like Mike Termott, you guys really think these people are running for president? You guys really think that this is about getting votes? That's incredible to me, David, because we're just not there yet.
Shut the fuck up, Dave. All right.
It's the truth.
David, go ahead.
So I mean, I don't think that it's about getting votes specifically. The thing that I care the most about, this is, you know, a pet issue. I'm not trying to say that this is what is the most important thing. What I care the most about happening in a presidential race is, you know, infrastructure and database management being done well so that it can be used next year for smaller local races. That's kind of always been my jam. That's why I ended up finally towards the end of the caucus warfare joining the Prags, because they were the people that were doing that kind of stuff. And that's always kind of been the thing that I do best outside of the party. So it's what I try to do in the party, and is just, you know, building infrastructure like that and making it readily available for candidates. Because right now it's not, and it hasn't been. I would argue that that's also a big failure of the Johnson campaign, is that they didn't get much of that out of it. You know, nobody has a list of who those 4.8 million people are, so that we can call them again and again and again and make them libertarians. That it just kind of all went off into the wind somewhere. So there's a few campaigns that seem like they actually give a shit about doing that. Rechtenwald being one of them, which is one of the things that I like that I've seen out of him, but also the other three that you just mentioned. I'm not a huge Mike Termott stan, but him and I are friends. But I support Oliver and Mapstead. Mostly Lars, though. I would prefer Lars, and honestly, one of the reasons is because has the best plan as far as this goes, and it also being that it's not just about getting votes. It's about, for Lars, it's the plan to get one electoral college vote, which is something that I don't think anyone else has thought about. It's a quirky thing, but it's an actually accomplishable mission, and he's right that
Do you know
get
that it's already
national
happened?
attention.
Do you know that it's already happened in the 70s? Okay. All right. They already did that. The Libertarian Party did.
But we didn't earn it. It was a protest vote. It was an elector that decided that they weren't going to follow the result of the election and gave us an electoral college vote. So it's cool that is, as a fun fact, we've never actually gone out and undeniably won an electoral college vote and turned a part of the map gold. And definitely not in the last 50 years. That was our first campaign. We did that once, and then it hasn't happened since, right? So it would be cool. It would, as far as like what can we get out of a guaranteed to lose campaign, I think that that's at least a fun, kind of quirky W.
Fite, what is there anything that RFK could do to change your mind or to bribe you into thinking? Is there any dollar amount that he can bring into the party or any numbers amount that would make you go, he's better than, at least one of these libertarian candidates?
Highly unlikely, but if he completely changes his stance on 7 to 10 different issues.
What are the main ones for you?
My biggest issues with him are, his affinity for climate change at whatever cost necessary. I'll pass whatever gun control law Congress gives me to sign. And I think I will send the military in if New Hampshire tries to secede, was a pretty bad take. I'll keep the union together by force.
Bro, any president is gonna. The guys in New Hampshire are snowed totally if they think that any president wouldn't send in the fucking cavalry if they tried to secede. That would just happen. But is that really the reason? You just gave me 3 reasons, which weren't like that big of really. Like, I've heard the gun thing. That's fairly legit, but like that's not something he can executive order. Hand over your guns. That's why they haven't done it yet.
Dave, I want to get your thoughts on these. As the current semi-RFK supporter, I'm
steelmanning it today, bro. Bring it on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is obvious Fed Lex Friedman, most boring man in the world, interviewing RFK, asking him his thoughts on freedom. Let's see what he says. With audio, preferably. Here we go.
Embodies America to me is the ideal of freedom. Hunter S. Thompson said freedom is something that dies unless it's used. What does freedom mean to you?
To me, freedom does not mean, chaos. And it does not mean anarchy. It means that it has to be accompanied by restraint if it's going to live up to its promise.
So we'll just cut it there. When asked about what your thoughts are on freedom, his first comment was, well, it's not like, freedom. It's not like, mostly like one of the first words out of his mouth when asked about freedom was restraint. Do you have any concerns about that, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Israel stuff sucks. And David's right about the climate alarmism stuff. Absolutely. But we already covered the fact that he's not getting elected and you can use him like he's your bitch, not Bill Weld using us like we're his bitch. That's the difference. We can use him to get what we want. Get out on the street, RFK, make my money.
But do you have any concerns about long-term effects? Because this isn't like a Bill Weld, because Bill Weld doesn't have like the Kennedy following. If Kennedy comes in and he ends up being the nominee, then suddenly we are the Kennedy party, and it's like Donald Trump and the GOP. The entire guys has the potential to completely split the entire thing. But doesn't matter.
Let me reiterate the fact that this will not happen. There is no constituency. There's no group or caucus within the LP.
Are you sure, though? If we get a big name in there, who's to say that they're not going to, like, Justin Amash or Bill Weld or Gary Johnson?
Let me finish my thought, bro. Let me finish. There's not enough time for him to get delegates like that. So I'm just saying, like, unless the current batch of delegates who are already either selected or they will be in the coming weeks for May, like, unless they're all on board, more so than Rechtenwald or Josh or Chase. If they're all on board with RFK, then maybe you could do something and he'll be the nominee. But shy of that, dude, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So it's not going to happen because
it's happened day of before. Like people have come in and just bought out the nomination plenty of times before. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened to us.
How do you buy the nomination the day before? Delegates are selected months beforehand.
You hire a bomb-ass video guy. That's how.
I'm not saying you couldn't convince everybody day of, hey, some guy comes in and smooth talks everybody to switch their vote. Like that could happen, I suppose, in a world.
When is DC?
May something.
Oh, so he's got a little bit of time. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. If it plays,
We've seen a handful of outsiders seeking to challenge President Biden and former President Donald Trump as third-party or independent candidates. One is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert Kennedy Jr. Oh, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy.
Robert F.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
A Libertarian candidate, Javier Milei, has become the new president of Argentina.
The chainsaw plan of Javier Milei's Libertarian government is underway. No gradualism or waiting period. The changes are already underway.
They say that they like free markets, but they despise free markets. There is no stronger advocate for free market capitalism than myself. For 30 years, I said the same thing, is the best thing that we could do is have true free market capitalism. And look at my speeches from 40 years ago, and you see people asking me, what's the most important thing we can do for the environment? I've said consistently for all this time, free market capitalism. Because we don't have that in our country. We have corporate crony capitalism. We have this system of cushy, lavish socialism for the rich and a merciless, barbaric capitalism for the poor. So there's all different brands of libertarianism. The one thing they all have in common is that they hate authority. And I love dealing with libertarians. We declare independence from the two political parties. Let's go take back our country.
Who made that?
The revolution has begun to destroy the Libertarian Party, and yes. Now, I want to get both of your thoughts on that before we move on to the next thing. Dave Casey first. Thoughts?
Did you make that? Who made that?
What? I would never betray my party like that. What are you talking?
Shit. I say whatever it takes, baby. Whatever it takes. That's what I'm saying. Listen, we don't need to keep belaboring, is he a libertarian or not? We know that he's not. He's not up to our standards. He's not a libertarian. But that ad geared towards the left is a win for us. I know it's all the lore and the, reestablishing faith in government and all that shit. But if you can put the Bill of Rights, I saw We the People in the background there. If that's part of his shtick, if you want to call it that, people want to talk about who do you trust? Do you trust Vivek? Do you trust this guy? I don't trust any of these guys, and you shouldn't either. And there's no reason to trust them. Let's assume they're all limited hangouts and it's all rhetoric and that's all you get, right? Okay, well, I will take the classical Democrat who is espousing free market capitalism. Guys, that's like, you don't get that really with even Joe Biden, the corporatist side, or the AOCs. So if you can get anybody from the left, which is the dominant culture, we are 100+ years into the progressive era. If you can get that to move at all, do it.
David Fite, your thoughts on the ad and whatever Dave Casey just said. Go ahead.
I mean, as usual, great job. But I mean, it must be hard finding video of him that is audible.
Well, I mean, it's a lot easier to find video of him than any fucking libertarian candidate ever. So,
valid.
I mean, I'll take the scratchy audio a little bit over, boring nothing. Literally nothing is what I can usually find of libertarian candidates, but go ahead.
Valid.
Also, thank you for your compliment before I
Yeah, I don't know. So I've fallen for the liberal Democrat who likes free market capitalism before. I did that in 2020, and I feel like I'm not gonna fall for the same shtick twice and end up having a bunch of merch from an authoritarian douchebag, like my lovely Tulsi shirt that hangs behind me.
Yeah. It's all right.
So, like, I don't know. There have been a few others. There's always a few other candidates in the race. Usually they stay in the duopoly parties and get beat out in the primary, but there's always a decent candidate. There was the Ron Pauls, there was Rand Paul, there was Tulsi, there was, if you want to count Yang, there's always that candidate. Fair. His people, a lot of his people turned out pretty
good. What's that
good.
music? What is that? Now, you guys were here to debate something, and you're mostly agreeing, and I don't like that. So I decided to bring in a couple more guests here to argue in favor of RFK a little bit more than Dave. Give Dave a break and to give him a chance to be a little bit more honest. The guys who hired me to make that video, Hector Roos and Jorge, whose last name I don't remember. The Mexicans are here. How are you guys doing?
Good. Nice to be here.
Dave's.
Yeah, the Browns are here.
Are you suddenly in favor of the wall? Just curious. Because the Jorges and the Hectors have shown up to school y'all.
Oh, am I in favor of the wall?
Yes. The White Daves versus Hector and Jorge. Guys, welcome to the show. Yeah, I did want to bring a little bit more conversation into this because Dave, I know you guys disagree to some extent, but it's kind of a libertarian disagreement. And
wait a second,
I want the guys who are like yay RFK to come in and to give their pitch. So real quick, Dave, I'll give you 30 seconds for your wait a second, and then we'll get these guys in.
I just wanted to say, one, Hector, what a shocker, bro. I figured you for a Mike Termott guy. So right off the bat, I got to say, I think that, he's being pragmatic and cool. I'd rather vote. Look, I would join whatever caucus they just started for RFK before voting for Mike Termott. So I'll join your guys' club. And Jorge,
for him too, for what it's worth. I'm a whore.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, man, whatever it takes. That's what I'm saying. And Jorge, good to see you, bro. So I'm just glad you guys are here, and I'm looking forward to hearing the case.
Great to see you again.
Right on time. Hector, you are the one who contacted me.
Still Mike T supporter.
Yes. Hector, you're the one that hit me up telling me that you guys were doing this thing. And I was like, it sounds fun. And I'm down for stirring the pot and may the best man win. So give me your pitch. You guys can talk together. I don't know who's like in charge or who does what exactly on this thing. But what are you guys doing here? And why are you trying to destroy the Libertarian Party? Go ahead.
All right, I'll start. We've been hearing about RFK potentially running as a libertarian because of ballot access and so on. That's been up and around for a while. And maybe like 3 weeks ago, I said, let me write a good blog post because I really do believe that RFK Jr. has a lot of potential. So I wrote a blog post, I shared it on my Facebook, and then Hector somehow saw it and he said, well, let's get together and create like a little Facebook page or something to really pitch this. So that's kind of like how we started. And then we got the domain, Libertarians for Kennedy. And that's kind of like how we got this started. And as far as Kennedy, I really do think it's just, Dave already mentioned a lot of things. What he brings, he does have an understanding of free markets. He's not a Ron Paul, but he definitely understands the difference, with the competitive private sector and all this government bullshit. And no one's been fighting, just like Dave mentioned, no one's been fighting the COVID mania, the medical tyranny. And that really has been the issue of the last 4 years. And we have all of these libertarians who were in the party and they dropped the ball, right? So they love to talk about, how much of a libertarian we are, while RFK Jr. is not a libertarian. Well, right there, half the LP, just totally disqualified themselves compared to Robert Kennedy Jr. And, people can also just learn, right? People can learn and change their minds. And I really suggest people go to Robert Kennedy Jr.'s podcast. And he has a recent episode with the great libertarian.
Oh, God, he has a podcast?
Economist.
How do you have a podcast with that voice? Go on, sorry.
Yeah. He has a great episode, a recent episode this February with David Stockman, who's, Austro-libertarian, has been at the Mises Institute and so on. And he was talking about how when David Stockman was in the Reagan administration, fighting for low taxes and all that stuff, how Robert Kennedy Jr., being an old school liberal, he thought that Stockman was like a very bad guy and all these things. But Robert Kennedy Jr. admitted that over time he has learned and now he sees things just like Stockman. And he even wrote the foreword for one of Stockman's recent books. So Robert Kennedy Jr., he has learned a lot. And I think anyone who really takes the time, to see what he's doing, will see that he really is. To me, he is. I would use the libertarian word with him. And I know if you go right now to his website, Kennedy 2024, and you look at the economic section, there's a lot of bad stuff. Okay. But at the same time, a lot of that stuff in there is just kind of like fluff. I don't think the minute he gets serious about running as a libertarian, if he does, I think he will move. He will have a very libertarianish economic policies, much more so than a lot of people would imagine. So yeah, fighting the COVID mania, he calls out the neocons by name. Okay, there's a great 1.5 minute clip of him calling them out by name, all the warmongering and all that stuff. Now, I will very quickly say something about his, his take on the whole Zionist disaster and this invasion, the Hamas war, and so on. Now, consider the following: the fact that he got on Dave Smith's podcast and he defended his views, and he talked to someone who is a hardcore anti-statist and extremely critical of Zionism. He spent an hour talking to him, going back and forth, explaining his views, and he offered Dave Smith the VP slot. How much of a naive neocon can Robert Kennedy Jr. be if he's willing to have Dave Smith as his running mate? I
Was
mean,
it
what
a
we really
serious offer,
want.
though? It seemed like a joke.
Oh, I don't think it was a joke. I mean, to me, it seemed very sincere.
I would just add to that. If I think it was a joke, or at least he was just poking around. But even if it wasn't, there was people who asked on Twitter after that, like, "Hey, if he made Dave the VP, Libertarians, would you be on board with that?" And dude, by and large, everybody again was like, "No, because he's not a libertarian." I'm like, bro, you guys are the biggest fucking group of bitches I've ever fucking met. You get Dave Smith, your guy, to be a vice president on the vice presidential ticket, exposing, he's already the guy, but you're talking about 1,000-fold Dave Smith influence. What do you think that Dave Smith's going to go, "Oh, I'm a fucking cuck for Israel now because I'm a vice president"? That's not going to happen. You guys got to grow up a little bit out there and just like understand this is politics. Like, we can be radical, but you got to like be a little flexible, because we are not going to get what we want. We can't even decide. We have the opportunity right now as Meecox and Rothbardians, the Ron Paul army, to pick our guy. And our house is divided, while your enemies are totally united against the anti-Mises action. So I'm just saying, like, that's why I'm making the case for RFK. If we can't get on board with the most radical candidate that we can find, then you should consider, listening to these guys, because at least you'll get something out of it.
Right.
I know that sounds kind of crass.
We've got Dave Casey, who says he's not a libertarian, but he might have value if the good libertarians don't get it. We've got David Fite, who says he's not a libertarian, so he should not even be in the discussion. And then we've got two. He is I don't want to speak for you, Hector, but two people who are in support of him and think that he's a libertarian. So just kind of to lay this out, Hector, do you agree with Jorge here that he's more libertarian than these guys are giving him credit for?
We have to say, bottom line is that when our present day 9/11 happened, the actual 9/11 happened 23 years ago. The 9/11 that we lived through as adults, homeowners, parents, the only one that actually was there for us was this guy, not even our own party. In fact, I joined the party because of it. So, okay. And a lot of people did. So if there was one signature issue that should be the 9/11 issue for libertarians, it should be the COVID regime, no matter what. And there's only one guy who's strong, the strongest that's out there, even stronger than most of our candidates that are running right now in the LP. Exactly. So no. And I want to say one last thing. The solution is not going to come from within the LP. Javier Milei showed that. You have to get somebody who got transformed by the message and just use that energy to basically build the movement. Just do it. Get it done. 1, 2, 3 years he was in. And this election is the first election cycle, because what I'm looking at is what happens after this one.
Now, Hector, I got to give you a little bit of pushback, because as we've talked about on this show, we had you on even to talk about it. You were running against Ron DeSantis for governor in Florida, and a lot of people said, "Why would you do that? He was the best guy on COVID. He was the best governor. Why would you, as a libertarian, go up against him right now?" But are you flip flopping here, or is this just because there wasn't a libertarian?
The people who are supporting who are supporting Ron DeSantis for that reason are now flocking to support RFK. Period. No, there's the Ron DeSantis supporters were only supporting him for that particular reason.
Yeah.
And now they can't support Trump because for the same reason why they were supporting DeSantis in the first place.
Real quick,
I don't disagree. Whatever. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
I just want to say, since we have a couple extra RFK guys here now, I think that it's important. I want to see COVID justice too. I want to see lockdowners suffer, not just atone. That's how I feel about it. So I understand that sentiment, but I wonder sometimes if I'm not too deep in my bubble. And I wonder, Tho Bishop had a good tweet the other day. It was basically like, libertarians will make a mistake if they make this all about a COVID referendum, and they should make it a referendum about Israel. So I'll say that Wreck the Regime is the guy who has been best on both of the issues. I know he can't get you all the ballot access and doesn't have the $100 million engine behind him. But if, again, I'm trying to create a binary decision here for libertarians, right? You can pick the guy who's saying all the right things with your Mises Caucus pin on him every time he goes out to debate, saying all the right answers, right? All of them. You motherfucker. Or you can make certain concessions, right? Yo, you're fucking nice. Comedy's all about timing, bro. I got to give it to you on that one.
Thank you.
But I wish, man, that RFK would have stayed true on the Israel and the war stuff. He was great on Ukraine, and this would probably be a whole lot easier for me. But that's kind of a deal breaker. I'll say that.
Sure. David Fite. I was hoping that Dave
Yeah.
Casey and you. I was hoping the Daves would kind of join forces to some degree here against the hardcore pro RFK guys. But you're still seemingly a bit of an anti RFK island. Have these guys changed your mind at all, or what do you think about what they've said so far?
No, because it's a lot of that argument was built on an objective lie. When the COVID regime started off, RFK was championing how great lockdowns and mask mandates were, and how great lockdowns were for the environment, and how great they were to fight COVID, while we had Spike Cohen going and doing 3 to 7, 10 events a week out in public, in parking lots, and anywhere that he could get events, not doing mask mandates, not doing vaccine mandates like RFK was doing at any of his private events. Like when push came to shove, when this first kicked off, RFK was totally about the regime, and he only really started fighting it and flip-flopping when it became about the vaccine. We had libertarians talking about it, and all of the libertarians running right now are as good, if not better, than RFK is on the COVID stuff.
Okay, wait. Okay, pause. David, we need to debate for a second. David, you said that. I know. I see Hector back there. You said Lars
So much
is
for
your
that
guy.
team up, Dave. All right.
You said no. Okay. I know. No. Yeah. It's Fight. David, you said that Lars is your guy. So I know for a fact what Termott was doing during COVID. He was being a COVID cop, either enforcing mandates or derelict in his duty. One of those two things. That's what he was doing during COVID. So I would like to know from him or you or anybody else here what Mike Termott has done, not for the Libertarian Party. What have you done to improve liberty for anyone? What have your contributions been? And I would ask, has he or Lars or Chase ever said anything that's blown your mind? Like, oh my God, I never thought about it that way. These guys are going to change the whole game. Or any one of them. I need to know this, David. Lars is your guy. What has he done or said that has made you go, holy shit?
Riggers.
That's incredible. What is it, man?
Thank you for that one. That one was great. That was one of the
It ain't
best
much, but
interview
it's honest
moments of the
work.
cycle.
Thank you.
So I'll be honest. I'll give you. I can't say that any of those people have ever blown my mind on anything. I'll give you that point. Most of the reason that I support Lars is because when it comes down to the presidential cycle, what I'm looking to do usually is get as many new libertarians, expand my normie friend group into the party as much as I can. And Lars is the person that I think I can get. So like over the last few years with like Johnson and Jorgensen was kind of weak, but in 2 rounds of Sharp in New York, I've been able to kind of like slowly. I don't have any normie friends that didn't vote for Larry Sharp. I've got almost all of my friend group to be at least like passive libertarians, and I'd like to expand that because I've expanded my friend group since the last race. And Lars is the most.
Larry Sharp
I
seems
think
to be a big fan of RFK. Just throwing that in there. But go on.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Larry Sharp's.
Sorry, didn't mean to
go there.
throw it off
Yeah.
there.
David, wait, man. Look, I get what you're saying, that you relate to Lars the most, and
I feel like this is now an intervention for David Fite, and we're all just like beating on him. So I'm gonna, to the best of my ability, go anti Kennedy here, even though I just made the ad. But go ahead, Dave.
But we should figure out what the purpose of the LP presidential candidate is, right? So David, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you're saying, well, this guy is relatable to me and my friends, so that should be my guy. Like, dude, I'm begging you to get a different approach when picking a presidential candidate. That's not, you should think about,
or any candidate.
yeah, you should really think about what's best for the movement. So I think you're doing this backwards. You're like, well, I have this group of friends and I would like them to be libertarians, and this guy would provide the simplest bridge. When you should be thinking, there are libertarians out there that need to be inspired and activated. Activate the remnant, dude. Find them. Find the people that will respond to this information. Don't try and convince your normie friends, oh, the system's just a little unfair, so let's unrig the rigor. The dude, bro, leave those people be. We have a lot of work to do for like generational work. It doesn't matter if we get an extra 0.5% of votes because like some guy's like cool with a ponytail and like speaks to normies. Like, this is not the way to do it. This is not it, dude.
All right, Fite, I want to give you a bit to respond to that, but then I want to get to the sellouts position on this. Go ahead, Fite.
Yeah, so it's definitely not about who's the most relatable to me. Because honestly, none of the candidates are. I guess Chase would probably take the cake on that one, but I don't think any of them are really relatable to me. It's about the people that, like I said in the opening, like it's the people that are paying attention to a presidential election are going to be more easily won over by somebody that provides them an electoral solution, which none of the ANCAPs do. Lars actually does. I think Rechtenwald has a decent policy, but he's just as fucking boring as the rest of them, dude. He's not that engaging or fiery. If Dave was in the race, none of us would be having this conversation.
Did you see the sunglasses and beanie? Did you see that shit?
Bro, you can't bullshit a bullshit. You can't bullshit a bullshitter, bro. You can't tell me Lars is exciting. That guy's not exciting. And he like you just said, he hasn't said anything yet that's inspired anybody. Yet.
Go ahead,
guys.
Hector.
We're not going to get anywhere beating up our own candidates, our own people. We know.
That's why I'm here.
Who we are. We know. We know. They just
all I do is beat
all
up our
together.
candidates and our own
We
people,
don't
bro.
have the reach. We just don't have the reach. That's the point. Even if we had even with Dave, if it was Dave being the candidate, even he would have trouble because of the reach issues, right? And we were betting hopefully that he would have had the reach if better reach than everybody else.
Would you guys support? Would you guys support RFK if Dave got in the race?
You mean with him?
I'm glad I don't have to make that decision.
Like competing against each other?
Yeah,
or
like if Dave was like, I want to be the president, would you support Dave or RFK?
That's a good question.
I mean, that would be great to see. Let's have them duke it out and run and let the delegates and the competition.
Those would be better debates.
If you had Libertarian Dave versus bigwig RFK, who has some libertarian views, would you prefer Dave Smith over RFK?
I would prefer RFK because I think RFK can be Austrianized. What makes Dave Smith better than RFK? Okay, a deeper understanding of Austrian economics,
libertarianism,
and a much better history of the Israeli-Palestinian, debacle, the Zionist calamity. But I do think that Robert Kennedy Jr. is close enough in the economics, and he's open-minded enough that he can get a lot better in that sense. And also the fact that he has so many like Zionist friends, and that RFK Jr., compared to Dave Smith, really pushes the Zionist line. That really helps us in many ways. We're not going to solve this disaster by going out there and say that the Zionists are just a bunch of bad guys, that they just want to take the land and they're a bunch of racists or whatever. Because, you have all kinds of people who are critics of Zionism. I like to see Zionism just the same way we saw socialism. Just one massive mistake that a lot of very well-intentioned, smart people fell for. And how did we overcome socialism? By just saying that they were a bunch of bad guys? Not really, huh? It was Mises and Hayek and all these guys that took apart all the fallacies and eventually helped people overcome their fallacies. And if Zionism, at least the current brand of Zionism, is a mistake that is pushing the world towards war, then we need careful thinking, people who have friends. We need to ferment Zionist Gorbachevs. And we're not going to get Zionist Gorbachevs by telling them that they're a bunch of killers, and that kind of nonsense. This is a very complicated mess, and it helps to have people who see the world a certain way. So I think in many ways, RFK Jr.'s many Zionist friendships is good. We need to have some dialogue and goodwill and overcome this stuff. So I think in that sense, again, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I get it, but so I think it could actually work to our favor to
All
have
right.
his Zionist views.
Dave, I want to get your response to that since it was your question. Go ahead.
No, I mean, sorry. Yeah, I don't, I don't think it's good. You said something about, well-intentioned people, in
Dave,
socialism.
do you think that RFK is libertarian? Because that seems to be the argument here that they're making.
But
like, you're right in the middle still, and they're saying, or at least Jorge is saying, that RFK is libertarian enough that he should be still. He would bring more value than Dave Smith.
all of the main things that libertarianism is about: private property, self-ownership, and individual liberty. He is not about that. I'm sorry, guys. He is not about that. He is for wealth distribution. He is for that. So he is a socialist, as Mises would say. That is fair. I think. Would you agree, Jorge? Bro.
Again, that is a very subjective word. There's a lot of libertarians
Okay,
who
but-
are the total anarcho-capitalist libertarians who wouldn't
I know he's not.
consider.
I would not
Mises
consider him I would not consider
libertarian.
him I would not consider him a small government conservative. I would not consider him a free market small L libertarian. I think he's better than any Democrat on issues regarding those things. And I also think the important thing is, much like Tulsi Gabbard, David, I was kind of on that, I was with you at the time, bro. Best case scenario. I think that Tulsi, like RFK, doesn't want to put you up against the wall. So that in and of itself, he's that end of the left. He's not the communist or corporatist leftist. So that's good enough for me, for that wing. If you're okay with, if he pays lip service to the free market, beautiful. There's streets, entire monuments, and entire statues and all kinds of shit with his family name all over Washington, D.C. This is as close to American royalty as it gets. So if he's saying anything that at all that is resembles, American Revolution or the Bill of Rights, we the people, all that shit, I will take it. It's all a win, because he's reaching so many more millions of people than we are. So that is a win. That's the North Star. I'm an anarchist, right? But I'll walk with conservative Republicans or whatever, or RFK style leftists as we go towards, we're all going towards the same thing. I'll use that because we're not going to hit it in our lifetime. So I like that messaging, but I do not think that him being surrounded by Zionists is a good thing. I do not think that him being a creature of government is a good thing, or something that we're going to win from. I don't think that his daughter-in-law, who is a ex-CIA agent, is a good thing. I think he should have kept Dennis Kucinich if he was interested in peace and things that we're interested in. That would have been a better play. So I think he's definitely playing ball with the establishment, but that doesn't mean that I'm not here for the limited hangout.
Dave, I mostly agree. Like, burn it all down, but whoever can start the biggest fire right now, let's go for that. And I would love for it to be a libertarian, but it's not a libertarian currently. Who can do it? And I don't know. I'm concerned about what it does to the Libertarian Party, but also I'm a little concerned about what will happen to the Libertarian Party either way, if it will survive or if the country will. But, it is what it is. We've got some fake super chats here. Let's go through some of them. Ben Arkiss says, fake super chat. Also, if you want to get your fake super chat in, since YouTube hates you and me and everybody that has valuable opinions, put fake super chat in all caps. We can't take your money, but we can at least take your thoughts. Ben Arkiss says, fake super chat. It's far more important for the LP make this election a referendum on Gaza rather than the COVID regime. If it was 2020, then a COVID referendum would make more sense. Now, Hector, you got any thoughts on that?
Right now, we have to understand we have legal limitations to how we can take down the two-party system in the United States. The Libertarian Party is best positioned to offer a platform for candidates that will do just that. And it will, this isn't like a proportional representation country like Argentina, where you can, where you have various options of being able to get to political office. This is like national revolt, do or die United States, because that's how the two-party system's been created to be. And this is the rare opportunity where you have a once in a generation. Ross Perot was 30 years ago to do just that. We don't have that kind of candidate. We probably will never have that kind of candidate, homegrown. It's always going to come from without, and that's the reality.
Fite, thoughts?
Well, I asked Dave this earlier. Are you guys under the impression that RFK could win the election?
I think so.
It's possible. Yeah, 34%. You need a
He's
plurality
creeping
of
up in
support.
some polls. I saw I think it was Arizona poll recently that was like he was creeping up like 33, and like 26 for RFK.
I'll give you the better statistic. He is leading among millennials. He is leading among anybody under the age of 40, basically, compared to the other two old guys. And the reality is that shows that the future are those voters. Those are the future, not the other voters, not the increasingly shrinking voter base that the two parties are relying on, right? So
guys,
that's where
we have
should
9
be
months. We have 9 months to the election. There can be exponential growth in there. I mean, if you remember what happened with Ron Paul, during his 2008 and 2012 revolutions, he was getting that exponential growth going from college campus to college campus, getting a bunch of people to chant in the Fed and all that. Unfortunately, Ron Paul had the primaries early, and that ended, the campaign. But had Ron Paul had another 9 months to get that Ron Paul blimp and to get some famous people, to join the stuff, I think things could have really changed. And look what happened. Look what happened in Argentina, guys. Within pretty much one election cycle, one really good beacon of freedom, a flamboyant guy who really understood economics and could explain things to people, managed to overturn that country in one election. And he didn't even have Robert Kennedy Jr., the Kennedy brand.
Much more with a much more dire, like, just like
true
economy, like much more.
He was a celebrity too. He had that.
True. I mean, I understand things were way worse over there, which kind of helped.
It doesn't sound like a chainsaw being run over by a lawnmower.
But I still believe that Robert Kennedy Jr., with the right marketing, and he has so many connections. I mean, if we can get some famous people to understand some basic things and join him, and he's going to have Elon Musk, Joe Rogan. I mean, whatever we have of independent media, of people who really think by themselves, they totally prefer Robert Kennedy Jr. than Trump or Biden. I mean that is a no-brainer. So it can definitely happen. And if it's going to happen, we need to have people who have faith that it can happen. So, I definitely believe that it can happen.
For the two RFK hard ride or dies at this point, do you believe that RFK is more or less socialist than any of the libertarian candidates? Do you think there's any libertarian candidate that's more socialist or more authoritarian than RFK?
Good question, bro.
Thank you.
RFK is more authoritarian than all the libertarians. That's fine.
Well, yeah, there are some of them that scare me, honestly.
Tell us about it, Hector. Who concerns you? We spill the tea here.
The people who think that medical mandates are okay. There are some that won't speak against it.
Who?
Those people scare me.
Who? Which ones?
Some guy that was endorsed by the Mises Caucus at some point, as I remember.
Who?
Oh, Hornberger. Is he not against medical mandates, or is he just COVID oblivious?
How many debates has there been for him to repeat the same thing or remain silent? Right, silent is consent.
I agree. I mean, he's absolutely. I would definitely put him in the category of people that would get. I would vote for RFK before Jacob Hornberger. I don't care what anybody thinks about that.
I would not.
Well, yeah,
I would absolutely.
Technically,
I would absolutely do that.
I would definitely say thank you, Clint Russell, for doing and Toad, right, for making that very
Hector,
public.
do you think that Hornberger is more authoritarian, or do you think that he's more ignorant on one topic that RFK? It's RFK, like the one topic that Jacob Hornberger's bad on. RFK's one topic that he's good on is the conflict here.
It's our cosmic 9/11, man. This is taking a word from what George said. Who's the one who's? Or I think actually Dave said this. Who's going to put you up against a fence or a wall, right? Who's the one that's actually going to help pull the trigger?
You think it's Hornberger?
Get you there. Again,
really?
It's the 9/11 issue, right, of our day.
I mean, I'm not a Hornberger stan or anything, but I'm not buying that Hornberger would put me
I
up
don't
against the
think that
wall.
he would do that. Yeah, I think he's oblivious. He just hasn't been paying attention since they passed the Patriot Act. That's the last update he got.
I
He's
think
on an old
Hornberger
operating
is pure from 20 years ago, and he just hasn't gotten the upgrade. Yeah. Now, we do have to take a quick break. We've got more to do, but I do want to take a quick break for one of the ads that is actually paying me to run the ad. You guys did not. If you want to pay me to run the RFK ad, I will, because I'm a whore. But here is somebody who did. Have you or a loved one been injured by some fuck nuggets, reckless driving, a tumble at your shitty job, or some other form of dumb shit outside of your control? Well, fear not, because today's episode is sponsored by a lawyer. Lone Star Injury Attorneys is an award-winning personal injury law firm that achieves maximum results for its injured clients. Max the Axe is not just a lawyer, but a hardcore Mises Caucus libertarian and also a big supporter of this show and all of our bullshit. Max is the best personal injury lawyer in Texas, but don't judge him by his occupation or location. Max is an avid defender of liberty and justice in whatever state you got fucked in. If you've been injured and your ass needs saving, go with the pros at Lone Star Injury Attorneys. Visit LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com or Google Max the Axe. Consultations are free and you don't pay a single dime unless you win. Once again, go to LoneStarInjuryAttorneys.com and get your ass covered. All right, that's it. That's all we've got. Go support the show, patreon.com. If you want to run an ad, it's fairly cheap. Go check it out. Patreon.com/The System Is Down. Anyway, mentioned in that ad was he's a hardcore Mises Caucus libertarian. I'm curious, as I do with debates per Dave's request, raise your hand if you're a Mises Caucus supporter. 1, 2, just 2. Jorge, well, Hector eventually put his thumb up like Ron DeSantis after looking around to make sure that he read the room. Okay. Now, so we've got 2 Mises Caucus supporters, 1 indifferent, and 1 Dave Fite. Are you anti-Mises Caucus? I legitimately don't know. In real life, don't care where you stand on this. But what are your thoughts on the Mises Caucus?
I mean, depending on who you ask, I'm either a simp for the caucus or fakertarian. So I'm one of those that I didn't pick a side. Like I said, I did eventually join the Pride Caucus, but I was literally brought in as their outreach director because they were like, hey, you aren't hated by everyone that isn't the 4 of us on Twitter. Can you help us like turn this around and not have everyone think that all of us sound like fucking Andy Craig and Josh Eagle? Because they make up
it's
like
a low bar. It's really a low bar.
It's a tiny little part of who actually was the caucus. Most of the caucus just doesn't have Twitter and didn't partake in it. So it's just like the worst of the worst being the loudest in the caucus. And they're like, they brought me in to try to turn that around. And then they folded up shop and ran away.
Yeah.
And blew up all the evidence of their bullshit on their way out. Yeah.
At least you're willing to admit it. But where do you stand on the Mises Caucus?
I was adamantly anti-takeover. I think that it was a problematic approach from the beginning. I think that it ran off a lot of really good people who really aren't that much different from you guys. There was a lot of this like us or them mentality from both sides that it duopolied into a lot of the worst happening, and people running for positions within their state party or their county party just to be a delegate to Reno, and then it kind of not really having a clue what they ran for. There's been a lot of breakdown since that I think points to a lot of the warnings that I've been saying for 5 years.
Okay. All right, Dave, go ahead. Before that, fake super chat from Chris O. Fake super chat, even though it's a long shot for RFK to get the nom, and he would probably embarrass himself, I think Angela would like for him to try. It would bring a lot of attention to the LP, and that has been a big topic of discussion. It seems like she's, at least as an avid Joe Exotic supporter, ride or die, I do take issue with Angela being a little bit more friendly to RFK. But Dave, go ahead and respond to Fite's comment, and if you got any thoughts on that. Because I mean, like the Angela thing is why this whole thing is stirring up around the Mises Caucus. It seems like she's supporting him.
No, yeah, I'll preface this by saying that I think, David, you're gifted because you can, like a daywalker, touch down on both sides. And you, like, I don't dislike you, dude. Like I said, man, I think you're a cool kid. I want to smoke weed with you and hang out. If we weren't talking politics, we would just be homies, right?
Fite's a good hang.
But let me, with all that said, with all due respect, I think that any libertarian who's been, and you've been paying attention, any libertarian who's been paying attention to the party in and around it for the past 6 years, or voting for their candidates for the past 20, who doesn't recognize the takeover as the best thing that's happened since the party was created, then you're kind of an ingrate. You kind of don't really have your head in the game, and you don't know what it's all about.
I love you, but you're a piece of shit.
No, no. I want to say this. David is not a piece of shit. I think he's just epically wrong. He is defending, however, people that are absolute pieces of shit, trash character people. So, dude, no, not all of them. I'm not saying every prag. I'm just saying that you run with some people who are absolutely fucking cum dumpsters of people, just absolute trash human beings.
Nazi fags.
So, that's a fact, David. I'm not saying all of them, but the Prague Caucus folded for a reason. And say what you want about the Mises Caucus, dude, but the Prague Caucus, I'll say this. I took this from Karen Ann. Any caucus that isn't raising money is just a name, like the Waffle House Caucus. You can call yourself a caucus. You can be the Kennedy Caucus. If you ain't making money, son, you ain't really a caucus. The Prague Caucus wasn't raising money. Neither is the Radical Caucus.
Would you say that Toad is really a candidate? Because he's not raising money either.
What I'm saying is that all the energy was in that corner. So I'm not saying that every single person who is a member of the Mises Caucus is an angel. I can be an asshole on the internet. Like, I totally get that if that's your gripe with, the approach or something like that. But bro, the idea that the Ron Paul revolution coming into the party is a bad thing is fucking dumb. Like, that's the best thing that's ever happened to the party. And it's recent. So I know that you just said a couple of minutes ago that Chase would be your guy if you were just talking about this, or you can get down with Lars. But what I'm telling you is, dude, then you still haven't kind of like reached your full potential yet. And you're a young buck. What are you, like 25, 26?
Hey, guys, I just remember, talking about Chase. He had that little thing going back and forth with Michael Rechtenwald, where suddenly Chase said that Lou Rockwell was some racist. I'm calling him a racist. I mean, what the fuck is that?
Nazi fags.
What, David, do you think Lou Rockwell, do you think when all these guys the Fakertarians' name on their shit is Lou Rockwell is a Nazi. Are you okay with that? Do you think that's good? Do you think that's good for the liberty movement?
No,
Loser brigade type bullshit.
I went on their fucking show to tell them that I think that they're retarded. And that's why Josh Smith hates me.
Thanks, man. I mean, that's cool, but I would say...
Hold on. Josh Smith hates you because you went on the Fakertarian show to call him retarded? Like, you're stealing his thunder? Is that what you're saying?
It was literally like 2 weeks before he did. This was like 2 years ago. But he went around calling me a Fakertarian for a while. And
didn't Josh Smith help start the Fakertarians? Never mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Jorge and Hector, I'm curious of your, like... Jorge, you're more of a Mises Caucus guy, it seems like, than Hector is willing to admit, at least. What is your stance on the Mises Caucus takeover, and how do you think that plays into the RFK thing?
Okay, I'll go first. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Mises Caucus takeover. I mean, it did exactly what Michael Heiss wanted to do. It brought the Ron Paul revolution, and what did Ron Paul bring? He brought the real Austrian economics. Now, the LP is solidly behind. Everybody knows what Austrian economics is now in the LP. It's become the cool thing, and that was thanks to the Mises Caucus takeover. And it also brought, with a great, Scott Horton and the guys from antiwar.com, everybody now in the LP knows a lot more about the Zionist calamity, about what is going on over there. And we no longer fall for this naive, there's the next Hitler, we got to go out there and get him, this neocon wars. Now the LP has really become a beacon of Austrian economics and some real anti-war history, something with some real backing. And it also exposed, the loser brigade and the corruption in there. You guys remember all of these particular state delegations that were going on, and all the shenanigans and all the cheating that was going on. I mean, it cleared the swamp. It got rid of the swamp, and it has made the Libertarian Party much, much better.
Nah, Fite's still sticking around in the swamp.
I'm still here.
Really, really quick, just so everybody knows, if they're not already aware, this is kind of a binary choice. And I'd like to think that the takeover would still take if you got a Chase Oliver for president campaign, but I'm not sure, guys. I think that might mean that the takeover didn't take, and that the referendum would then be anti-takeover energy. So you might not get to have this conversation in 2028 or whatever if you don't get to put forth your guy. If you can't coalesce behind somebody, I think you might lose all of it.
Well, I want to get to Hector before anybody else. Hector, do you think that the Mises Caucus takeover was a good thing?
Yeah, it definitely was. I think it finally gave permission for libertarians in the Libertarian Party to be libertarian, because what happened is we went through a couple years where you didn't hear a party that was resisting wars. They weren't resisting lockdowns and mandates. They weren't resisting taxes. And frankly, we still have work to do in that direction. But guess what? We had to go start somewhere. Reno was a great start. And I'll tell you what, I was at Reno. All of you were at Reno. And the Mises Caucus did not do that takeover alone. There were a lot of people, fellow travelers there that joined in, because that's the only way you get 70 something or 80% success and sweep the whole board the way that it happened. It's because we had the people who were there for the reset, for the Reno reset, were there for the right reason, and they made their case, and they convinced the vast majority of people, especially the vast majority of people who weren't part of the Mises Caucus, who weren't there for the reset.
Now, Hector, you were hesitant, much like Ron DeSantis, to raise your hand on the support of the Mises Caucus. What was the reason for the hesitancy?
Just differences in strategies.
What's your biggest complaint with the Mises Caucus?
My personal biggest complaint.
Yeah.
It's a caucus. It's a private organization. It's just run by the people who and the focus of its mission is run exclusively by the people at the top. So if you don't fall into the scope of what they're trying to accomplish, you may as well just work outside of the caucus. That's just
Is it
fair.
because you ran against Ron DeSantis and a bunch of Mises Caucus supporters were against that?
No.
Okay. I don't know, and I really don't have a dog in this fight. I'm just curious.
I actually think that's an okay reason not to be. Yeah, that's an okay reason if you're not down with what they're doing. Okay.
I mean, if that was the case, yeah, like we gave you some shit for running against Ron DeSantis. Like it deserves a questioning, but I don't have a dog in that fight either. And if a bunch of Mises Caucus supporters were piling on saying, "Hey, that Republican is better than this Libertarian," that would piss me off too. So it is what it is. I was just wondering, have you gotten less Mises Caucus supporting? And do you well, more so like, and this can kind of go to anybody. The Mises Caucus has been accused of supporting secretly in covert, like the shadow governing of the Mises Caucus is supporting RFK and they're courting RFK. That is what I've heard. Hector, I mentioned on the last week's episode that somebody asked me to do an RFK ad, and then that was used online to prove that the Mises Caucus is endorsing RFK secretly. And I mean, you're one of the lesser Mises Caucus supporters here, it seems like. So I don't know, like the rumors about the Mises Caucus supporting RFK and there's this shadow campaign. Is that true, Hector? Are you secretly a Mises Caucus infiltrator?
You got me. I've run myself through the ringer for the last 2 or 3 years, stood tons of insults and degradation in order to, trick everybody now with RFK. Yes, that's exactly what happened. You spot on, man. Spot on.
Nice.
Nazi fags.
Cool. I don't remember who we're going to next, or who wants to. Anybody want to chime in? Any thoughts on that? On the Mises Caucus infiltration for RFK?
So I will.
Let me. But to be honest,
I just want to say real quick because the question. Ooh.
Go ahead, Fite.
Sorry. My ad blocker just gave me weird shit. As far because the question kind of ended up changing as to whether or not the Mises Caucus takeover was a good thing, and the reason that the Fakertarians also hate me just as much as a bunch of the Mises Caucus people hate me is because I was still a fan of the Ron Paul revolution coming into the Libertarian Party. I was a fan of some of the not so takeover rhetoric that Dave Smith tried to give there for a little bit of like, it's not a takeover, it's reinforcements, a little bit less antagonistic. Because I think again, there was just too much of that us or them, and it ended up pushing out too many people that could have been very, very useful and kept this party going a lot more steadily than it has been over the last couple of years. But I wasn't anti-takeover. I'm not anti-Mises Caucus. I don't think that you guys don't belong. I don't agree with you guys are just fake Republicans and conservatives that are coming in, and you guys are going to endorse Trump and all this other bullshit that the loser brigade spews. I'm not one of them.
David, do you think it's a coincidence that the Prague caucus folded up shop right after the takeover? Like, there was a 15 to 20 year Prague run. So what I'm saying is it possible, dude? I know that you're like, oh, you ran off some good people. Is it possible that those were shitty fucking people that weren't going to stay no matter what? Is it possible
Joe
that they just
Henchman was a saint?
That they just didn't? Yeah. Again, they hate maybe conservatives more than they hate the state. So fuck that. Or this has been my party for 15 years and I don't want to share it kind of attitude. Because I've been here for a while too.
Some
dude.
of them,
I saw lots of that. I saw
Some
a lot
of
of that.
them. Some of them that got ran off should have been run off. I'll give you that. But a lot of other people that didn't need to be ostracized. Like I said, like there was a huge chunk of the caucus that torched me back in like 2021 because I was, a fakertarian. I wasn't part of the caucus. I wasn't one of you guys. I mean, fuck, Dave, you had me blocked on and off for the last like couple of years. Like,
well, David, again, I block anybody who annoys me. I don't have to hate you. I hit the block button like crazy. But what you said, this was like you said at that point that Vermin Supreme was a better libertarian than Lew Rockwell. That to me makes David. I'm not sure if you changed your mind, but that's an unserious statement. That's that. It's awful.
Now, I will say, as somebody who worked on the Vermin Supreme campaign, that I disagree with that statement. Fite, do you agree with your statement?
So I will say that it was that he had done more for the liberty movement at the time. And I definitely think that statement is no longer true.
Okay. All right, cool.
Why so? Is it because Lew Rockwell got less racist or because Vermin Supreme got worse?
Because Vermin Supreme got worse.
But also Lew Rockwell's accomplishments had already been like he had been running the Mises Institute for 40 years at the time you made that statement that gave birth to people like Jeff Dice and Ron Paul and little David Brady who can't wait to get his little brown loafers and go to fucking Mises camp, dude. That's what they provide. You know what I'm saying?
Guys, most libertarians are too ignorant of the history of libertarianism, of the ideas and the party to even appreciate Lew Rockwell. I mean, that's just the truth. Most are just too ignorant of that. And you can have your differences with Lew Rockwell. Like, I mean, he's a Catholic. I am not religious. I'm agnostic or whatever. One can have differences or whatever. But, to go around with this naive, loser brigade rants, all racist and all this, it just shows how ignorant so many people are. And the sooner the Mises Caucus can get rid of these people, the better it made the party.
David, what's better? If you could wave a magic wand today and you could bring in 10,000, Lew Rockwell disciples to the party or 100,000 Vermin Supreme disciples, what's better? What's better for liberty, dude? What's better for the party long run? What's the point of the party, bro? You know what I'm saying? You got
Let him answer. Let him answer. Just let him answer.
Sorry for yelling.
Fuck. I don't know. So the thing is, a lot of the people that I've seen that Vermin brought in turned out to be pretty dope fucking people. Most of them aren't running with him anymore, but they turned out to be pretty all right.
Are they pretty all right, cool dudes that you want to hang out with, like I'd want to hang out with you, or are they great libertarians who are sticking with the party to do the fucking work?
That's a fair question.
A little bit of both.
I would probably hang out with them too, but I don't necessarily want them voting either.
I just can't believe we're discussing who's a better libertarian, Lew Rockwell or Vermin Supreme.
Thank you.
It's absurd. It's
absurd. Again, I don't want to make this
let's get back to the topic.
A pile-on fight night, but go ahead, Hector.
No, I mean, the point of why we're even talking about this is because we just don't have enough libertarians in the Libertarian Party. We don't have enough libertarians, period. And part of the reason why we're here is that we want somebody exciting to run for president. God damn it!
Do you think that RFK will bring more libertarians into the party or more former Democrats into the party?
It'll bring everybody, and then we'll have to sort them out.
So if it's
He
Donald
will
Trump,
bring more.
Dave, that's true.
Kennedy Jr. will create more libertarians because if he runs with the LP, his own messaging is going to be even more pro-capitalism,
I agree
and that
that
is
he'll
going to
create
help
more skeptical
educate his
people.
masses.
He'll create more skeptical people who question the narrative, yes, but I don't think that necessarily always equates to. I mean, look at QAnon with Donald Trump. It doesn't necessarily turn people into libertarians. It turns them into people who trust the plan and just sit around on their hands.
Wait a minute. We know from the Ron Paul days that America is anywhere in any given state, 8 to 15% self-identify as libertarian. These are actual numbers and studies that have been done for years, all the way going back to Ron Paul's days. We know that there is a remnant. We know a lot of people are in elected office who believe the same things we do, and they're just waiting for an opportunity.
So the Jacob Hornberg argument
does not
that they're just
provide
waiting
for
the
libertarians.
right message. The Jacob Hornberg argument is that they're just waiting for the Hornberger message, and then they will come out of the woodwork to vote for Jacob Hornberger. Is that what you're saying?
Guys, it doesn't matter whether there's a remnant of 5 or 8%. We make them. We educate them.
Right.
I mean, has anything been learned
How
from
did
the
Millet
Ron
get
Paul
there?
Revolution? No, look at the Ron Paul Revolution.
I don't know.
Today,
None of us
most
followed
libertarians,
Argentinian politics.
most
before
libertarians
Javier Milei.
under 45 are libertarians because they saw Ron Paul on TV. They got curious. They looked at his speeches, and then they read some of his books or something, or they started to listening to Tom Woods or whatever. So all we need is just a beacon that can explain things well, and then we make libertarians. Who's born a libertarian? Even Ron Paul, all these people, just look at their lives. I really recommend. Walter Block wrote a book called "I Choose Liberty." It's like 50 essays of leading libertarians, autobiographical, and all of them, most of them were born. They were total socialists or the Christian die for Zionism type, and eventually they stumble upon an understanding of history, economics, and then they turn it around. So that's all we got to do. I don't care if there's no libertarians out there. We make them libertarians because we know how the world works. And the minute the Libertarian Party carries itself as the party of people who actually understand economics, history, and so on, we will attract people and we will win them over. If we carry around with a boot on our head saying people are stupid or dumb, then we just continue with our 2%.
Dave Casey, do you believe that RFK will bring more libertarians into the party or bring them out? The remnant that is waiting, the remnant that the takeover talks about, do you think that they're waiting for RFK? Or that he will sway them?
I think it'll look something like the invasion at the southern border, bro. Millions might come in, and there will be a few dangerous ones in there.
Dave, you're talking to a Hector and a Jorge. I don't think it's
I
right.
know. No, they know exactly what I'm talking about. No, he'll bring in more people than anybody else has, and it will be hard to kind of maintain. And it might get a little rocky. But I do have faith that, one, all these people who just come in and, are expecting it to be real easy, they're going to be shocked when they find out they have to follow the bylaws. Oh, I got to show up to my county meeting to have a voice here. Oh, I got to actually do the work and register as libertarian. Oh, I have to actually learn about this. Oh, I have to sign the non-aggression principle pledge. All this shit still exists. So that's encouraging. I will say that libertarians in the party often don't take note and don't understand because we're too busy, kicking our own asses and beating ourselves up for having no power. They don't understand the power that the party has. You guys don't understand, not you guys. Most people don't understand that there's constantly, every 4 years, a group of vultures that comes around your party and goes, I could use that. I could use that over there. It could be Vivek Ramaswamy. It could be RFK or anybody who wants your precious ballot access and all the shit that you have established that everybody's been building up for 50 years.
We have turned Dave. Thank you. Continue.
So I'm saying you're always going to have people around that are really excited about, hey, yo, man, you know what we need to do? We need to fucking pursue ranked choice voting. That'll change the murder cult. Oh, dude, you know what we should do to stop the fucking empire is put in term limits. These are the kind of people that just care about a third party, dude. They want an extra option. They don't care about liberty. They're more anti, two choices isn't enough. I'm against the duopoly. But they're not pro-liberty. They're just, and they know they're getting screwed. And believe it or not, I'm coming around to a pro-RFK thing here. America does have a big fuck you contingent, a big dissident contingent. You know what I mean? I wipe my ass with the state. People understand that. That cuts through in all languages. You know what I'm saying? So that can work. Populism works. So in that aspect, RFK has a lot going for him. So you can ride that wave, which is so much bigger than any wave that you could possibly come up with, and hope that, shit works out in the end. But be aware of the people who, are lurking around, trying to use the ballot access or claim that they're, the guy who's going to do it for you. It's like, bro, don't. Libertarians are the third box, man. It's not about you or the principle or the beautiful legal philosophy. Third box. They're looking for the middle finger vote. That's what they're voting for, not you or your campaign. So,
whoever wants it, go ahead. There was a lot there.
Yeah, I don't think that RFK brings in more libertarians to a point that Dave made earlier of just the Gary Johnson effect of, that he might get votes, but will he get more libertarians? And then to a point that Dan, you made a little bit later, if he does bring in membership, does it then just become the Kennedy Party and not the Libertarian Party anymore? Does it now become a party that supports gun control and eco-fascism and all of these other things that he has still and I mean, that isn't an actual dig on the Mises Caucus, but they proved it to be not that hard to do, to come in and take over in an election cycle and a half. If the Kennedy contingent wanted to do that and take over the brand of libertarianism,
he's got a lot more resources than any Libertarian caucus does. But Hector,
that's
do you have something?
Fact.
I will say one thing. Anybody who's going to read look into the crystal ball and tell you the future, has to understand at least one thing. People like winning. They like to see things that have never been done before that people say is impossible or couldn't happen here.
He's not gonna win, though.
So what is RFK offering? RFK's
offering
to do things that no libertarian has ever done before.
And
that could be winning.
Libertarian wouldn't really be doing.
But it's definitely a lot more. Exactly, by 2-3 degrees of magnitude more. This is on the issues that libertarians are supposed to be championing in the first place, and that even now libertarians are not championing as well as they could be.
Hector,
except for Second Amendment states' rights.
Hector, I don't believe you.
Nope,
I don't remember your
answer.
Hector, did you say that you believe that RFK is a libertarian or no?
I think on issues of COVID mania, bodily autonomy, medical freedom, he has certainly proven himself to be much stronger in libertarian terms than most libertarians.
Really? Again, it's a subjective word, right? It's a subjective word. Look at Dave Smith right now. He's getting hounded. Now Dave Smith has a more closed border policy, whatever. Now he's getting hounded by a bunch of libertarians that are saying, well, you're not a real libertarian because you're not for the open borders or whatever. So again, it's a subjective word. I mean, to me, he's libertarian enough. So, and now we're going to have a global, I mean, he even mentions capitalism.
At some point.
Way more than Donald Trump. How many times have you heard Donald Trump saying, I am for free market capitalism?
I think it's a
I don't think I've ever heard
2015, actually, he did.
Okay, fine. Wow.
I think
RFK Jr. totally outdoes him on that.
It's cool that you guys showed up
comes to mind here.
Just that one line.
The word relevance.
Go ahead, Hector.
The word relevance comes to mind. The reason why we shouldn't be worried about whatever Dave Smith says is because he's not making policy. When we need him to sound the alarm about something, he's great. When he wants to push us into directions we don't want to go, we don't go. So, but where we need to go in this presidential election cycle is where we want to go, and where we want to go is who's going to do the best for us, and that's why we're here tonight. RFK will do that.
I got to be honest with you. It makes me a little nervous, and I think I'm against trying to convince people that RFK should be the libertarian nominee because he's libertarian enough.
So, Dave, do you want to get him in and have him run, and then have the delegates vote him out, or do you want him to be the nominee?
I want people to realize that this is about you have we the Mises Caucus, because we took over. At least we have for 2 more months guaranteed we're in control, and we have the opportunity to make the choice. So you have the choice, right? Which is kind of cool. People like options. It's America. You have a choice to pick the principled, anarcho-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-Israeli intervention, anti-COVID lockdown, anti-technocratic, globalist, satanic order candidate. That's my guy, who I've been telling you guys to look into, but everybody has a fucking shit fit because it's not Dave Smith. Okay, fine, fair enough. Nah. But fair enough. If you guys, but if you don't want that, then my opinion is, if you're like, no, I want this guy because he's polished, or he'll reach some people, or he'll reach Gen Z or something like that, you're already lost in the sauce, dude. You might as well go full on board with Hector and these guys and get the fucking bag at the end. At least set yourself up for 2028. I'm not saying that he's libertarian enough, but you are going to get nothing from.
So go
Chase.
real or whore out.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. If you're gonna fucking cheat, you cheat with the sexiest fucking chick you can find. Or if you're gonna sell out, you sell out for the big payday. You don't take the shit.
He sold out for Bill Weld, and he's like a cheap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wasn't around back then, so I don't have anything to say about that. I will say a few things though. RFK represents a different perspective to things. Sure, on the things that he's strong, and most libertarians will agree with him on. He does a great job communicating those points. He does it far better than on those issues where he does a lot better on those issues where he does agree with us. That's why we're even talking about this, because he actually has a lot of agreements with us, and he comes from a perspective outside the Libertarian Party, right, where he has better outreach than all of us even here and everybody else who's running. And you know who has also said those words? Dave, do you know who also said those words?
No.
Michael Rechtenwald about himself.
What did he say? Sorry.
About Michael Rechtenwald said those exact same words. I'm paraphrasing, actually. Made that case for himself of why he is a good presidential candidate. I actually agree with him. His perspective being the former leftist, being the former, having all these agreements with socialism, and then coming full circle around is why we're even here talking about this, because we also think that Kennedy has come a long way too. And George can talk, and this is where George got me, and I said, let's do it.
I feel real bad now because I've been calling you Jorge this whole time. Is it George? I'm sorry.
Oh, either one's fine.
Okay. I don't be racist. I'm not sure which way would be racist at that point, but yeah. Let's get.
I wouldn't even care if you were racist.
Tell me how not to be racist.
So we got some fake super chats. Justica Mitchell says, "Whoopsie, sorry about them dead babies, fam." I think that's in response to Israel, which Israel we don't think we've touched enough on tonight. We have a little bit, but since the pro-Kennedy guys have come in, I want to get your thoughts. Is Israel a deal breaker at all? Is there any stance that he can have on Israel where you would say maybe not? Or George, whatever, whichever. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Hector.
Listen, I'll say this on Israel. A lot of libertarians have very strong feelings on this, but they have zero solution. And this is a problem that's been going on for centuries. Right?
I got a solution.
This is well,
you should have went first. You passed the baton.
Exactly. All I'm saying is that I saw the Dave Smith interview with RFK on this issue, and I heard RFK's his defense of it, and I was like, well, at least it's a position and he's defending it, and it sounds reasonable. It does suck that there's a humanitarian crisis, that people really are committing war crimes over there, in my opinion, and that he's doing the Trump thing. He's not going to attack anybody except Benny for being a monster, and he'll say it like that. But he also says, this is RFK's position, right? That he's explained to Dave Smith that there is only one state partner over there that is willing to even talk at all. So it's the only partner you can talk to and establish any type of reasonable policy with. And unfortunately, we basically we've created such a dependency in the Middle East of people. You can't even call them Palestinians at this point, because some of them have been in some of these countries and camps for decades upon decades, and they just live off of the status quo, and we're just fueling greater and greater instability and conflict from there. And I tend to see that there is a point he's trying to make, and it just sucks that we actually have to face reality that it's a complicated situation, and our way, the way that some people express themselves, is not the only way of seeing it, and that sucks, because I do see a lot of suffering over there, and obviously I feel horrible for Justin Amash's family that's over there. I mean, we have to say this. This is a humanitarian disaster. War is bad. War is evil, and our country, as a matter of foreign policy, is pouring gasoline on this issue, trying to make it worse. We have troops on the ground in Israel right now. I can't say more.
George, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'll just reiterate what I mentioned earlier. I do think that RFK Jr.'s many Jewish friendships are actually good for us. We need to persuade these people. Like, again, I believe that Zionism was a mistake. If I could go back in time and talk to Theodor Herzl and some of these guys, I would tell them, look, guys, this thing's not going to work out that well. And hopefully I can get them to change their minds. But just like with communism, people go along with their ideology because it makes sense to them. And this is where we are right now. And somehow we need to solve this mess. And we're not going to solve this mess by saying that, because the Israelis love to look at the Palestinians, and there really are a lot of Muslim extremists. Some people, if you look at some of the things that they say on the TV over there in Gaza and so on, there's a lot of people who do say awful things about all Jews, But to me, that's understandable. I mean, we're all equally human. Everybody who grows up in a particular area, you pick up that culture and you pick up these ideas, and we have to be wise and understand why people are radicalized, whether it's the racist settlers. I mean, we know the Israelis have a bunch of, nuts over there. And the Palestinians, I mean, we're all equally human. We just have to hope that those of us that understand how freedom works. I mean, one of the things we got to do is we got to have some kind of like proposed solution. Okay, we're not going to solve this mess by just saying, the terrorists or the Muslims, anti-Semitism everywhere, or saying that the Israelis are just a bunch of, the bad guys. We got to go out there and do the best that we can. And like I said before, I think Robert Kennedy Jr., the fact that he has been so open to getting Dave Smith to be his running mate, I just really think that really plays in our favor. Again, I am totally against. I mean, I am an anti-Zionist. If I could go back in time, we wouldn't even have the thing. And I look forward to maybe someday having a free market, one state, where maybe we can dissolve the current Zionist government and we have one state that treats everyone equally. And there's a lot of books written by even big-time Zionists, like Daniel Gordis. I forgot the name of the book. He's a Zionist and he lives over there. And he says, look, we really need to change the nature of Zionism. Why don't we have two flags? Why don't we give more equal treatment to these people? So there's a lot of Zionists out there that are willing to bend things in a manner where things can change. And we have to go out there and try to talk to these people and so on. So again, I think RFK's Zionist views, although I definitely think it's misguided, we can work with. And I think it's actually a benefit for us there.
Mr. Fite, you made some faces.
Yeah.
It seemed like you had something to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, the Israel-Palestine thing, it's less about which side you fall on and more about how strongly you believe that side. RFK has stated that he will support Israel at all costs, which means he's willing to start World War III to defend Israel. Somebody who's like, I kind of, prefer Israel in this because, like, the Jack Lloyds of the world, I feel like, are different. Jack Lloyd, I don't think would be like, yeah, still send in fucking millions of troops, let's go. Or Austin Peterson, there's those couple of like pro-Zionist libertarians.
They're very
that
similar,
are right.
Jack Lloyd and Austin Peterson. Yeah. Go on.
They've been making a lot of similar arguments.
Sure.
But RFK is one of the people that will take it that step further and start World War III over this. That's why I think it's a deal breaker.
He's never said that. He's never ever said that.
Yeah, can you give us some proof?
Yes, he has never said that he would start World War III. He's never said those words, because why would you?
Yeah, but he's said that he would support Israel with everything we had.
Yeah. He said there's only Israel there. There is basically the territories. There is no other state. There's no functioning state. That's what his argument is. But even then, to end that war over there, we have to win the election here, right? So there are, and that's not a cop out. That is reality. Is that our country here, our tax dollars
How do you
here
win that
are
election
fueling
if
conflicts
if he's
overseas
in favor of that conflict? Like, even if you win that election, he's in favor of the conflict. So how does that help?
He's in favor of ending the conflict, right? So how do you actually reach a resolution to the conflict? You actually have to have a policy that can end the conflict, can bring peace.
Guys, this gets into a whole other subject. We need some libertarians to get together and draw up a one-state solution and how we can transition to that. We need that. Think about it. It's amazing how we have all of these great libertarian minds and all this stuff, and all we're doing is just bitching about who's right and who's wrong. Yet we hardly have anyone who says, let's write up a solution on how we can get there. We need that.
Guys, are you this sounds like the Mike Termott approach. Like, if only you had the Gold New Deal, then America would know. Then you'd see the way. They'd be enlightened by the Gold New Deal. So I take issue with the fact that you could present anything to Benjamin Netanyahu or the Likud party and say, look, we've presented something that's good for everybody, and is as if they'd take a look at it and go, well, all right, well, that's good for everybody. Dude, I hope everybody on this call and watching knows that it has never and will never be the interest of the Israeli government for a two-state solution or anything that works out for the people that are the millions of people that have been displaced, the 75,000 people that have been murdered, half of whom are babies and women. The idea that they could be proposed with like something that just would be good for everybody is like that's why I take issue with the idea, man, that these are well-intentioned people that we just need to get through to somehow. I don't believe that. And I've also you've heard about how you guys said RFK has gone hard at the neocons, and I've heard that too. He has done that, and that's good and encouraging. But if you know all about the neocons, like I do, like you do, then you know all about the Zionists. You know that they're in bed together and have been since the early 1980s at least. So he pretends, lies, that he doesn't know about that. That's not okay. It appears to me that he is at least under some kind of control. He's not going to touch that for whatever reason. I'm not going to say for Epstein's plain reasons, but for some reason he's not touching that issue, and it's troublesome.
December 18th, 2023, Rabbi Shmuley, who has been trending for the last 48 hours, said, perhaps the single greatest defense of Israel on video since the start of the war. My buddy and brother Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I sent him this note. I am not exaggerating, Bobby, when I tell you that this might just be the single greatest defense of Israel on video since the start of this war. Absolutely incredible. Your command of the facts, your command of the information, your passion, your moral convictions, you absolutely and completely destroyed and obliterated all of her arguments. She came across as an utter... Should I be reading this in Jew voice? Is that appropriate? She came across it... No, I'm not going to. As an utter and bigoted ignoramus this past summer, you made a promise to me that you would become Israel's great champion like your father of blessed memory. You absolutely have kept your promise and more. Let's watch just a little bit of this. I don't even know what it was.
People are arguably the most pampered people by international aid organizations in the history of the criminal enterprise.
Sure.
Yes. The Palestinian, and you talk about solutions for the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people are arguably the most pampered people by international aid organizations in the history of the world.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Even
I'm not.
before this war, 78% of people in Gaza said they had, not enough food to eat.
Right. And why is that? Why are you blaming Israel?
In part, it's Hamas, and in part, it's the fact that Israel imposed a blockade and talked about putting them on a diet.
If your neighbor, first of all, Israel has no obligation. Israel built 3,000 hothouses and gave them for greenhouses. That would have made Gaza completely food self-sufficient, gave it to them as a gift, offered to rebuild the port of Gaza to make it the Singapore of the West. Hamas said, no, we don't want Jew money, we don't want Jew ideas. And what do? The international aid agencies have given Gaza more than 10 times per capita what we gave to rebuild all of Europe after the Marshall Plan.
So, George, you say that he has Zionist friends. Do you believe that he is a Zionist?
Oh, I think Robert Kennedy Jr. is a Zionist in the sense that he believes that the Jews should have their own state and that kind of stuff. I mean, from the little I know, I think he is a Zionist. And, that's a position that a lot of people have, and it makes sense to a lot of people. And there are a lot of really nice people, and I know them. I have some friends that I think are very nice people who really do believe these things. It's the same thing with communism. And the
for
communism
Dave-
one, I know very well because I was born in a communist country and I got communist family members all over the place. And I can't say they're evil. They bought into a wrong ideology. And I see Zionism the same way. It's just an ideology that led to an error. That's it. How do we go? How do we fix it now?
So you don't think this
Well,
is a deal breaker?
I want to point.
Go ahead.
No, it's definitely not a deal breaker. To me, it's not a deal breaker.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to point out that
Not a-
there are some people who are grown up in like Zionism, just like or whatever tradition is in that country, as part of their nationalistic culture, right? I do want to point out that what people are listening, their takeaway of what RFK is even saying there is a discussion of economic incentives. The economic incentives are in place to make sure that people who were displaced after the 43 war, the 67 war, so forth, who live out in pockets through in Lebanon, in West Bank, in Gaza, that they will be stuck there. The interest of all the countries, especially the Arab countries. By the way, nobody wants to talk about Egypt when it comes to Gaza, which is like the Mexico of this situation, right? None of the Arab countries want the Palestinians to have any rights to succeed. They want status quo. They certainly do not want these people to immigrate into their countries, so that they will, the issue of the free rider problem, right? To take over and hamper their social services.
Yeah.
The Lebanese are already arguing that their country's been taken over and run over by
it's going to be impossible to find a God-fearing, self-respecting Muslim that is going to allow the Zionists to expel all those people and create themselves a country there and do what they've done. There are way too many Muslims that really believe in God that take justice too seriously to allow this to happen. They're not going to let it happen. It's that simple. That's why they don't do it. Okay, the Palestinians would rather die, okay, than allow this thing to happen. And we need to find some kind of like solution.
Right.
The solution is not gonna be like, okay, fine, let's just kick them all out, and so on. I mean, you got billions of human beings who believe in right and wrong that are not gonna let that happen.
All right, White Daves, any thoughts on on RFK's pro-Semitic views there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that
Yes,
anti-war
it's a trap.
to the core it should be like a fucking fundamental thing. Like I'm not the biggest, or I haven't been. I'm starting to be a little bit more after seeing some of his stuff, but I'm not a Chase Oliver person. But at least he is anti-war all the way. There isn't a war that he supports.
David,
Of them.
I'm anti-war. You're anti-war. Hector is anti-war.
Yeah.
Jorge is too, and Dan is too. But we're talking about president of the United States, right? Who should like lead the army of the anti-war movement? Like that's different, right? We shouldn't just
let
like,
Mr. Fite finish his statement.
Sorry.
This is my job. It's very small.
How do you
but it's honest work.
lead the army of the anti-war movement if you're not all the way anti-war? Is my point.
Are you done? Should I answer that? Or
Yeah, go.
Hold on.
Go for it.
Go ahead, Dave. All right.
Yeah, I'm saying that while he is not as anti-war as Chase is, Chase will inspire. He will reach nobody, and RFK will reach hundreds of millions of people. So in that huge movement that is not a libertarian movement, just a small fraction of it will have more of a positive effect for liberty than anything Chase could possibly do, or Rechtenwald probably. Any Libertarian Party presidential candidate this year is going to get 0.5 to 1.5% of the vote, less than Joe Jorgensen, because RFK is the undeniable elephant in the room. That is not going away. So you can either
fourth
kind of
party unless he joins us.
you can jujitsu it, and you can be like, okay, well, we're getting something out of it, and he's in the party or he's over here, whatever. And we can stick to our principles or whatever you guys want. I don't care, but he is not going anywhere. He's going to take the majority of independent, dissident, fuck you votes in 2024, period.
So are you now saying that he's better than Rechtenwald?
No, but he'll get more votes. So what do you want, David? Is it about the votes or the radical principle? That's what I'm trying to get at. It's a binary question.
It's not.
So
Wait. It's not. It's not just the outcome. Isn't just votes. The outcome is the culture. Listen.
Yeah, the culture, the votes, the ideas.
Part of Mises Caucus. This is always about the culture. Go, George.
Yeah, I mean the votes, the culture, the ideas. I mean, it's ideas that guide people's actions. We got to get the ideas out there, and I think it's a no-brainer that RFK Jr. can get these ideas to people all over the world. I mean, all over the world.
I don't think it's going to start a libertarian revolution, but I think it could move a lot of people in the right direction. And we, as stewards of the party, could do our best to kind of control that or or get the most out of it that we could. I think that's possible. I don't think he's going to start the libertarian revolution. But again, if you're moving the left just away from ultimate evil, that is a win.
Yeah.
A huge win. A bigger win than any libertarian could deliver you. If that's the guy, and regardless of party,
it's up to our own efforts to see how much of a libertarian we make RFK and his fans. We have a huge opportunity, and again, people can change their minds and turn on a dime. I'll briefly mention something because I spent a month in Argentina, so I know a lot about Milei, and I also read his autobiography. He wrote an autobiography, and Milei, cookie cutter, another Ron Paul, another guy, who didn't know that much. He's reading Murray Rothbard. And it's like, oh my God, everything I've been teaching for 20 years is bullshit. He certainly understands how the world works. He says, I got to run for office. I got to find other libertarians. And look what he did within one election cycle. So there is a probability that maybe we can do the same with Robert Kennedy Jr. And it's worth trying. Because if Robert Kennedy Jr. smells some blood, if he spends a couple of hours talking to Dave Smith and Jeff Deist and some of these other people, and he sees a few other things differently.
And Lou Rockwell.
I mean, yeah, and Lou I mean, it could be spectacular, and it's worth trying. And we got many months to give it a shot. That's what we're doing here.
Fight it out.
Has he really shown any interest in this, though? I agree with what Dave said earlier, that the Dave Smith VP nod was more of a joke than it was serious, and there hasn't been any serious talk about that since I've seen. Unless y'all got receipts.
Serious.
That was sincere, I think. Looked sincere to me.
It was. You have to understand.
Said that he thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure he'll laugh at any serious conversation about running for office ever again.
So you know what RFK meant, the point is Dave Smith, who was having a conversation with him.
Yes, because none of the whether it's RFK or whether it's the No Labels Party or any of these guys who are trying to put together get a running mate together that means something, they're all having trouble. Why? Because it's basically a political career ender or a time waster for some people. There's not a lot of people who actually even want it. No Labels can't even find a governor or former governor to actually run for president under their ticket. Why? Because nobody wants to do it. There's not a lot of interest out there. And who's going to put their name out there, being that they're basically a heartbeat away from possibly being in the White House itself, right? Dave Smith's joke. But that's actually serious. That's actually a serious concern. So, we really should more or less direct the conversation now about what would it actually coalition, what would this look like if RFK actually got in, right? Would he pick a libertarian to be his vice presidential campaign running mate? What issues would he actually adopt a libertarian platform? What parts of a libertarian platform would he adopt?
How would you guys? Go ahead. Finish.
No, you're right. Like what would be welcoming? What would the people listen? Everyone here. And the people who are in the chat and listening, what would it take? What would it take for RFK to say, listen, I get it. You want to make a deal? I'm all for it. As long as we're all being up and honest about this, we have a friendly conversation about this. We can talk about supporting ballot access, supporting down ballot candidates, supporting the fact is that, and we've said this before, but this is the first time I'm going to say it tonight, that we should be thinking about that a Kennedy administration is a libertarian government. What would that even look like for us? Right? I mean, people who actually
Is it though?
implementing libertarian policies in actual government, right? We
Okay,
can't
well,
do that right
that's
now.
very pie in the sky. I mean, if he does get elected,
Hold
I
on,
mean,
hold on,
we are.
hold on, George. I'm going to give one of the Daves a chance to respond. Fite, you were in the middle of a thought and kind of got pushed off. Do you have any response to that?
Well, so yeah, I don't think that a Kennedy administration is a libertarian government, first of all. And second of all, I will say that if he actually shows some sort of legitimate interest in changing his opinions drastically and a
Or even calling
firm
himself a
understanding of
libertarian?
why, or even like he's not even. I said it way earlier. He's not even pretending to the level that Bill Weld did, that he's a libertarian. I would need him to at least be as libertarian as Gary Johnson or Bill Weld before I would even consider him. They're at about the outside of my considerable range, and he is so fucking far from that it's just and again, he hasn't shown any initiative of really coming that far in on many of the issues that matter.
Mr. Casey, any thoughts?
Again, guys, if you're gonna make it about who's a libertarian, then just pick Hornberger. Any libertarian is more libertarian than RFK. But I do want to briefly bring this up. I mean, we got to start thinking about maybe if RFK Jr. runs with a Thomas Massey as a VP. I mean, that'd be huge. Or
Thomas
with
Massey
Rand Paul.
isn't even hinting. None of them are hinting at the Libertarian Party except for RFK.
It's not going to happen.
Well, whatever. I'm just saying, if that were to happen, if that happens,
and if Joe Rogan
there's
ran on the
massive potential.
GOP, that'd be great. Dave Casey, any thoughts so far? I do want to get to some of these fake super chats before we kick out of here because we're going a little long. But Dave, any thoughts?
Yeah, a couple, man. I would say, just to kind of piggyback on what George was saying. Like, it's funny, man, when people were like, oh, like I would like to see this guy run with this guy. Well, wouldn't that be the ticket that would do the thing? Or imagine if Thomas Massey got it. It's like, bros, we're 2 months away from convention. The thought that's been in my head for the past couple of months is we need more leaders and less commentators. Like, I'm utterly shocked.
The podcaster.
No, bro. I'm a commentator. You guys don't want me to run for office. You know what I'm saying? I'm built to talk.
You
about
should.
This shit.
You should run for office.
Thanks, man.
No.
But what I'm saying is that the people who are already leaders, you can name names if you want to, but there are people that should have stepped up. I'm holding out for Spike. It's like, well, get him on the fucking horn then, bro. Get Spike in the game because it's 2 months away. Or
I've tried.
I've seen
I have too.
I've seen people give the Mises caucus shit like, oh, Dave couldn't do it, so you just like threw in this guy last minute. You don't think Mike Heiss was on the phone calling everybody, Spike included, Judge Knapp, Clint, everybody, please do something like to get our people united behind somebody great, right? Rechtenwald was the only guy, I think, in LP history who was recruited to do the job, right? When nobody else would do it. Where you at, Tom Woods? You got all the money in the world. You got all the time and all the respect. Everybody's been asking you to run for president for 10 years. What are you doing? You're not leading. No offense, but you're not doing that. So the people that stepped up deserve some fucking credit for
In
one.
fairness, he's leading. He's just not being a politician. But continue.
Kind of, man. No, no, he's being a commentator. And that's great. He's Rocky in Rocky 3. He's very comfortable and he's earned that. But he's also an OG in the liberty movement. And he could step the fuck up and give 6 months of his life away to lead a massive liberty campaign. But he's not doing it. Spike's not doing it. Judge Knapp ain't doing it. Where are your leaders? That's what I'm saying. Dave Smith ain't doing it. Where are your leaders? That's what I'm saying. So less leaders, more commentators, I would say. RFK, guys, like, I don't know. I guess this could be a question to everybody, but there's lots of places to look for your vote right now that's not the LP, right? We got two dudes down here who are like us, Mises Caucus guys, LP guys, and they're looking over there at Team RFK. You got other people in our camps and in and around our circles, fellow travelers, that are looking at guys like Vivek. And no wonder, because these guys are saying shit like abolish the FBI, abolish the Federal Reserve, or maybe bring in Ron Paul. They're paying lip service to us because they need our fucking vote. They want our constituency. They want that 1%. Bad. Right? So I'm saying these vultures are coming around. They want our business. So we shouldn't be so loose. If we're going to sell out, let's do it for the big bag. That's what I would say. But I'll ask the pro RFK guys, like, is RFK more of an anti-statist than, say, a Vivek Ramaswamy? I know he's not in the race anymore, but he could easily be on that Trump ticket. And that will too pull a lot of libertarians away. Right? So it's like, I guess I'll ask that: is who's the better anti-statist? Who's more libertarian, Vivek or RFK?
This will be the last back and forth, but except for the fake super chats, we can have some back and forth on that. But I do want to get to the people's comments. But go ahead, whoever.
It's RFK Jr. for sure, for sure, because he's the one who stood on his issues, on his principles when it was unpopular to do it, when he wasn't running for office, when he wasn't asking people to vote for him or support him or whatever, right? He was just doing it. So, I mean, this is a guy who's been walking in parallel to libertarians for so long at this point, and now he's actually crossing streams with people from the Mises Institute, with free market economics, coming a long way from his origin story, right?
Guys, I'll sort of conclude with, like, don't underestimate the power of pissed off mothers. Okay, RFK Jr. has the pissed off moms. Okay, and I think those people are going to show up. Okay, the people have been harmed by the priesthood of scientism, the vaccine bullshit, the COVID mania. He has a lot of pissed off moms. That's another great thing that he has.
Agreed.
We need those.
Ben Arcus says, fake super chat. RFK literally flew with Epstein. Come the fuck on, guys. And I will say that RFK is also the only person who admitted it and explained it before people found out about it. But any of you have any thoughts, pro or anti? Does Epstein play any part in this? Like, we're bringing that into the party.
Look, even if RFK flew... Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, look, we know we have video evidence of Trump looking like the sleaziest motherfucker dancing with Jeffrey Epstein in the 90s. We know for a fact that Clinton's been on that plane 40 times. Biden, we've all seen Ashley Biden's diary. These are
We've
the
seen
worst
Biden
fucking
sniffing
people.
kids in public, let alone on a plane. He didn't need a
I'm
plane.
saying I would not be surprised if he did some shit in the 90s and 2000s, sexual blackmail shit. That is original Jewish mafia shit. They invented that shit. Meyer Lansky, look it up. That's their shtick, right? So I would not be shocked if he got, he did something in the 90s or 2000s. But I also wouldn't be shocked if they just tried to get him and they didn't. Like if he rode on the plane and didn't do anything. And I'm not even ready to condemn Trump.
Dig for fossils with his kids.
The only one I'm ready, I need to see more evidence than that. It's enough to like raise eyebrows. It's enough to go, I don't love it. But, I need more than that.
Yeah. And again, just like you said, we need more evidence. And if he got in that plane, 30 years ago, okay, and he paid, to fuck some 18-year-old or something so he can cheat on his wife or whatever, that is still way better than going around there, droning people, bombing a bunch of people all over the Middle East. Okay, it's immoral. Okay, but doing that, it's not the end of the world. Okay, even if he did that, even if he paid for some 18-year-old prostitute. I mean, obviously, if you're doing some other stuff,
you keep saying 18.
Obviously, awful.
I don't think Epstein had that many 18-year-olds. Now, if it was 14, 12, or below, would that change your mind? Is it not the end of the world if he fucked a 12-year-old?
Of course, that would change my mind. If he did something or he raped someone, of course, that is a massive crime. I mean, that's awful. Okay, but if he's out there, hiding whatever, so whatever, a 17-year-old. I mean, we're starting getting to like, But again, 500 years ago, 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds were getting married, working on their third child. Again, it's immoral. It's awful. It could even be criminal, but it's still not as bad as droning people in the Middle East, bombing people all over the place. It's not committing theft. Right? I mean, it's awful.
Just child rape.
But
yeah.
No. Come on. So you have to.
But it could be the thing that allows him to not complain about the drone bombing of all the kids and using AI to fucking strategically murder women and children. You know what I'm saying? That's what Mossad did. It's
There's
a
one
Jewish
thing that
blackmail
Trump, Biden,
operation.
and Kennedy
Or
all
it's
agree on, and it just happens to be Israel. Just saying.
Yeah, that was
Okay, we
about
need
to
to
be
see more evidence.
my.
We need to see more evidence. See what's up.
Is his consistent sucking of the Zionist regime in Israel's dick not part of that evidence? Like, come on, are we really just gonna pretend that those two issues aren't correlated?
So,
like,
you've
Dan
done
made
no
a very
research.
good point there, and then you were just like, I need more evidence.
You're just like a focaccia. We're just going to talk out of both sides of my mouth tonight because I don't have anything better to say. But the reality is that if you actually hear this guy's talking points, he's very clear that he is in opposition to the administration in Israel. Right?
Who's talking out of both sides of their mouth? Are you talking about Fite?
RFK is against the Netanyahu government. That's what he means.
Who likes to say things and back it up with nothing. Right. So, in other words, yes, exactly. RFK supports is not a supporter of the Likud party. He is not a supporter of Benjamin Netanyahu. He obviously this conflict is something that he doesn't support. The problem here is that what are you trying to negotiate with? How are you actually trying to solve that issue? And at the end of the day, the bullshit that happens in the Libertarian Party of trying to put people into some kind of box here is not conducive to actually growing the party. Even whether it's
that box is pro
inviting
war or
RFK
anti-war.
or recruiting RFK to come in here. What's that?
That box that you're talking about is pro-war or anti-war, and it's a pretty big box in the Libertarian Party.
It's beautiful you say that, but really it's pro-peace or not. Because there's a lot of people who say anti-war, and what they really mean is, I want to kill people. Because I've seen a lot of that in this Libertarian Party too. They promote conflict in a way because they don't want to end them either. They don't want to bring peace. They don't want to resolve a social angst and bring generational conflicts to an end. They do not. They don't care. They just want to win an argument. We are really here to bring ends of war. Yeah, we have to recognize what we're dealing with. It's not that simple black and white stuff. But if you want peace, it starts with conflict de-escalation. Look what's happening. We're watching this happen in Russia and Ukraine. And he's in. RFK's great. No one's ever going to complain that he's not on the right issues of Russia, Ukraine, right? But you can consider the hundreds of years of Russian history in Ukraine, but you can't do the same in the Middle East. Come on, guys. Come on. Double standards. Get real. So at the end of the day, what are we here today?
I'm just lost on what the double standards are exactly.
Looking at taking a historical perspective of what in examining conflicts and how to de-escalate them. Where are the actual points of contention, and who's actually continuing to encourage conflict to happen and continue the status quo.
All right, guys. It's not just we're going on a massive tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify.
Epstein. We're talking about Epstein, but
Dave Smith, Scott Horton, they're not taking a historical view on the situation, and they're providing a double standard.
They're not talking about ending conflicts. No, they're not talking about ending conflicts. They're not talking about ending the source of the conflict.
Dave Smith and Scott Horton do take a historical look at the mess.
No, yeah, exactly. The historical look. But
it is precisely because they take a historical look that they don't go along with all the Zionist mythology.
Yes, I agree. So when you legitimately have JFK talking about, his perspective is if we can negotiate with the actual nation state that does exist there, an actual government, to actually try and de-escalate the situation, that is a more of appropriate way forward than simply saying whatever it is. Like basically. Anything else is kind of is just saying blame one side, or let's continue the conflict until there's nobody left. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. Right. In either case, I just want to get back to say, it is. But and at the end of the day, we're here because RFK, that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the guy right now, right? He's the guy who's closest to our positions that frankly, I've seen in a long time. That does not make him automatically libertarian. But it does mean that if we're going to have a conversation about it, we actually have to have it with some honesty and some courtesy.
So we got into this tangent because we were
expect
talking
the
about the
same return.
Epstein stuff, and we answered the Epstein stuff, right? So
Yeah.
we're done with that.
Dave Casey, you got any thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous to look at this in any other framework than a utilitarian one. You should not look at RFK as anybody that you trust or anybody that can deliver you any kind of victory for anything, because again, he is not going to win the presidency. He is not going to get elected, just like any of the libertarians.
You don't know that for sure. Come on. You don't know that for sure. You don't know that. He could win the presidency.
Yeah,
come on.
No, we do.
Come on. Stop it with that arrogance, because you know you're making a mistake. So
no, I think that it's I mean, there's nothing certain, but
there you go.
What do you think? What do you think
So
the odds
change your
are?
language then.
Like 1 in 1,000. Let's
Oh,
be
I
fair.
think it all depends what we do. It all depends.
But
I definitely believe it's in the cards.
But you guys,
It's in the
both
cards.
of you guys,
George,
have this,
best case scenario, like if he becomes the Libertarian nominee, what do you think his percentage will be?
No, he doesn't even have to become the Libertarian nominee. I mean, he is. If he does get on every ballot, with his own party, and he becomes Libertarian enough, and he gets enough people to join him or whatever, he could still win the presidency that way. Now, if he
Guys,
runs as a Libertarian, it could still happen.
with all due respect to everybody here, and if I don't mean to speak for anybody, but I think you guys have too much faith in the state. Like, do you guys believe that we had a free and fair election in 2020? Are we to understand?
Nope.
Are we to okay? So what happened in between then and now that would lead you to believe that the murder cult, globalist, technocratic, satanic death machine will go? Well, he got 33%, so. What makes you believe that? What makes you believe that you can provide some kind of to Israel, we've got this guy over here who has a really good solution to the problem. Why do you think that they would hear that or give a fuck? What makes you
fake super chat from Jordan Lott? Let's get Dave Fite and Dave Casey 2024. Sorry, I got to get through some of these. This was supposed to be faster, but it's not working out that way. It'll give you guys a chance to think about your response to what Dave just asked. And let's go, Dr. Shiva.
Nah.
Hector and George, response to Dave Casey. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let's set some realistic expectations here. I think Dave Casey is a wonderful person and might not ever be a presidential candidate or close to the White House in that way, or a playground. But the point is that that we should set realistic expectations for what we expect from RFK Jr. as being in this process, right? And the fact is that what are we setting as terms of victory, right? What are victory conditions? We get more votes, we get ballot access, we draw more energy into the party, we build on something that into the preceding election cycle, right? And we build something that's broader, right? A down ballot support system, and we take this energy and this opportunity and these issues, and we make them libertarian ones. We take them over, right? Like it's been like the left has taken a bunch of our issues on our personal liberties, and on the right they've taken over on taxes and economic liberties.
Bro, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish, but hold on. Real quick. The LP is not on board with this, guys. You're the only two motherfuckers I've seen except that one guy Holden Kulada. You're the three. You're the three people that want RFK to be the president. So
I made the video.
Right. Dan, they need your money. That you'll do anything. Hooer. He's a hooer up there. He'll take your fucking money.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is you don't have the constituency. I'm on team Rechtenwald, and I'm saying that's a hard sell. And he's a hobby.
You couldn't even pronounce his name until he told you how to pronounce it. Come on. Get real.
Oh my God, bro.
Rechtenwald? It's spelled pretty. Maybe it's a language barrier thing.
Come on.
I don't know. Fina Bonin says, fake super chat. We lost a lot of members forever as in past on their light in the past last few years. Okay. What? I don't know. Justico Mitchell says, Mighty Ducks 2 really is a shit movie. Thank you. Grumpy Gnome says, fake super chat, why are we still discussing RFK Jr.? He's a fucking hardcore dem. Well, it's because that was the point of this conversation. Morgan Riggs says, fake super chat, populism works. At what cost? Anybody want to weigh in on that? Anybody who says populism
Populism
works?
Listen, Ron Paul revolution was a populist movement. So it's awesome. You know?
Yeah, populism, but it's based on the right ideas. Guys, so I want to say I find your lack of faith disturbing. Okay? That's it. Okay? Ron Paul did an incredible job. Ron Paul did an incredible job by just teaching people that the price of everything goes up because the Fed is printing more money. He got thousands, some of you guys remember, thousands of people going to college campuses screaming, "End the Fed." He did a great job. The primaries came, and he lost another 9 months.
You weren't even around
that
for
could
Bill
have
Weld.
turned things around. Okay, and just look what happened in Argentina, guys.
Yo,
again,
RFK
you have to have faith. With the right message, you can do it.
RFK's going around telling everybody that young people deserve a house, just like George Bush did in 2008, right before the mega collapse. Everybody has, you know what we're going to do? We're going to lower interest rates. So
Yeah.
This is central planning, dude.
I agree. He's fucking up. He's fucking up big. If he's gonna get serious about maybe doing the LP
You're
stuff,
the one who's been
then
arguing that he understands free market capitalism. How can you combine that with that policy platform and that being something that he's loud and proud about and been talking about a bunch? That's not free market capitalism. That's not understanding any of this. He's not Malay.
He needs to change. He needs to get better, and it could happen. I'm hoping that can happen.
I'll take that.
Yeah,
he needs to change, get
we
better.
have an opportunity. That's all I'm saying, guys. We have an opportunity to take this man and make him a Milei, and I don't think it's gonna take that much to make it happen. To turn him more into a Milei and a Ron Paul.
Before he changes is not gonna help change him. There's no
Yeah,
reason
we still
to do
got 2
that.
months.
It
We still
didn't
got 2
work on
months.
anyone else.
We got 2 months before we get to the nomination, and he hasn't even said that he's gonna run as a libertarian. We're just trying to learn about possibilities. That's what we're doing.
If he rolls into DC having dropped all of his terrible platform planks and explained why he's changed his mind, I would consider it for sure. I said that way back at the beginning.
Awesome. There you go. And if that were to
never
happen,
gonna fucking happen, and he's never given any hints at that ever happening.
Oh, that's
true.
Nothing.
That's bullshit.
Like,
people do change their minds and they learn.
Let me tell you guys this, if it makes you feel any better. If the LP is stupid enough to send fucking Lars Mapstead or Chase or any of these guys who aren't, if you're a vaxxed up, triple boosted fucking prag, I'm going to go vote for anybody else except you. I'm going to go look at RFK. I'm going to hope that Vivek got on that ticket. I might look at the Constitutional Party, or I might vote for Jill Stein because you guys are such a bunch of dickheads. But I'm not voting. I'm not playing that game. I'm not like the prags or the audacious guys who will stick with this party forever, like because the party is the ends. It's not. The party is a tool to bring liberty in our lifetime, if you guys want to use that fucking slogan, which I hate so much. But that's why I'm here. And if we can't do that, if we can't put forth somebody awesome, sorry, it's not Dave, but you do have an ANCAP. You do have a Mises Institute ANCAP, Hoppian, hardcore motherfucker. I'm sorry if he doesn't have the panache level that you guys need. But that it has been provided for you. But if you don't want that, I'm with these guys. Go settle out of court right now for the best guy on the COVID regime. He's also good on Monsanto regulatory capture. He gives a little bit of lip service to the free market capitalism and shit like that. All right, okay. If you're gonna fuck up that bad,
and the Fed, he's good on the Fed.
Yeah.
K Paris
I've heard
says
it.
fake super chat. Dave Casey for the win. Where is Tom Woods, Horton, etc.? That's a good question for Dave. It's also a good question for Hector and Jorge or George. Is there a libertarian candidate that you would vote for over RFK to be the libertarian nominee?
Right now, for me, no. I prefer RFK to anything that we have in the LP right now. Again, because of the publicity, what he's done with his book, the real Anthony Fauci, what he brings to the table.
Is there any self-described libertarian anywhere that you would vote for over RFK?
Fantasy football, like just pick anyone that you would.
Pick
Ron Paul. Ron Paul.
There you go.
If Ron Paul runs right now, I'd go Ron Paul.
Cheat codes. All right. Aside from Ron Paul, Because come
Oh,
on,
okay.
that's like saying Jesus in Sunday school.
Spike Cohen?
I always wanted to vote for Jesse Ventura, by the way. At least once.
Would you vote for him over RFK if you ran?
Jesse Ventura is already supporting RFK.
That's not an answer. If he ran, would you vote for him over RFK? He's a self-described libertarian.
If RFK was not running, I certainly would.
So no. Spike Cohen? Anybody? Of you two. Is there any libertarian currently in existence aside from Ron Paul that you would vote for over RFK?
To me, none. And from the ones, if RFK is not doing it, I think the most libertarian, the best beacon that we would have would be Hornberger, because he has a great understanding of history, Austrian economics as well. If we could then create a little wave to bring attention to him.
You just got done talking for the last hour with me about how the COVID lockdown was why RFK is the guy, and Hornberger is oblivious to the whole thing, and that would be your guy.
I guess I don't know how he messed up with the COVID stuff, so I don't know that.
Okay, all right,
episode,
yeah,
so.
it's been
I haven't
pretty
looked
atrocious.
into it very much.
But still, I don't see him using the power of the state to like prevent someone. I mean, I guess I just don't know about it.
I've been clear. I've been clear since everyone started running for the LP nomination. Within the nomination, I honestly think Mike Tremont is the best choice out of the whole bunch. Just the
so no libertarian currently in
policy,
existence aside from
background.
So we have to pick our guy based on the COVID regime, but if we don't get that guy, it needs to either be the one that's completely ignorant on the COVID regime or the guy that was literally enforcing lockdowns with a police badge. Are you serious?
He was not enforcing.
I got to agree with my opponent
or those mandates. He wasn't. Mike wasn't. So, all right.
Yeah, but Mike Tremont
more stuff out of your mouth that doesn't have any evidence.
I would like to know.
Hold on, Dave. Hold on. Hector, is there any libertarian aside from Ron Paul currently in existence that you would vote for over RFK?
No.
Okay, Dave, go ahead.
Shit, dude, I lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about before that?
We were talking about Chris O said, fake super chat. Guys, I bet if RFK attempted to grab the nom, Spike would be compelled to jump in. Who among us wouldn't want that? So, to the Daves, is it a win if RFK jumps in and that compels Spike Cohen to stop being a coward and jump in?
Yes.
Oh my God, this fantasy football is crazy. The fact that Spike isn't already in is
ridiculous.
Is crazy.
Where's
and stupid.
Joe Jorgensen? Where is our Joe?
Hold on. I remember what I was going to ask. Hector, your number one guy is RFK, and I understand that. I can empathize with that. Your number two pick is Mike Tremont. So I need you to tell me, I asked David earlier, he said his guy is Lars Mapstead, and he couldn't give me a good reason why he was other than, hey, I think he'll help me, whatever, recruit some more of my people. What has Mike Tremont done for the liberty movement that impressed you or you thought was of value, one of his contributions? What is it through his 30-year career in government, through the Bush White House as an economics aide, getting paid with your tax dollars? What was it through, his university teaching and into his time as a Broward County police officer? What has he done for the movement at all that makes you go, okay, that's my guy?
He is doing the work.
What question would you ask Lisa? Sorry, go ahead.
Or what question would you ask Lisa? Right? No, the point is that what kind of candidate are we talking about in terms of electability? If you're telling me if the measure is, they've been in the party for decades, they've done this or that.
No, that's not what I said.
That measure, actually, I don't know what accomplishments anybody.
No. I specifically didn't say how long have you spent in the party. I don't care how long you spent in the party. You could have come in yesterday. What can you do for me now, and what have you done? What are your libertarian bona fides? What are his?
So I respect his background. I think I think his professional background, his education, and his and by the way, something that some of the candidates don't have at all is charisma. I think he has a little bit more charisma than all the other candidates combined, out there. Not going to say that he has a monopoly on it, but man, can he carry a conversation at least? I mean, yeah. And can you actually communicate his issues? Can he connect who he is and why he's doing what he's doing? Yeah. So can some other candidates not do that? Unfortunately, that is the case. And our bar for what we've decided is a decent candidate in the Libertarian Party. I mean, we picked academics before. We went, we've
What was the last
we
academic we
people
picked?
who were members of other political parties.
Who are these guys that you're citing?
Joe
that we picked?
Jorgensen.
Jorgensen. Yeah,
That,
he was.
I mean, that was awful.
like
That was
one-
nobody's first pick, though, right? That was everybody's third pick, and that's kind of how she slid in there, right?
No, no.
Yeah.
If you look at the votes for that, she was always the first choice, first round every time. She just got the support at the end because people were eliminated. That's how the vote happens. That's how the nomination process happens. Maybe you should remember that.
Lowest common denominator.
She was first
Oh,
in
I'm
every
picking
round
up
of
on your
voting.
sarcasm. I want you to know that all through this chat, I'm picking up on your sarcasm, and I don't appreciate it because I haven't given it back to you. But I will remind you of that. It's not going unnoticed.
All right. So, fake super chat. Hector Ruse says, war is gay. RFK is the only candidate who can win or represent the biggest anti-war vote total in U.S. history. Anti-war being keyword there. Mr. Fite, any thoughts?
I feel like we've covered this significantly already.
We have.
that
Hector, defend
he
your stance.
Tends to be anti-war on a couple of the issues.
Defend your fake super chat from 2 hours ago, Hector.
You're either anti-war or you're not anti-war. I mean, this is you're either pro-peace or you're not pro-peace. People were plotting that Donald J. Trump didn't start any new wars and resisted expanding the conflicts in Syria. We're still in there anyway, But they even gave him props, and everyone knows that if RFK was actually the president, he would be a much stronger president on war, by virtue of the fact that he's not even doesn't have to answer to the MIC lobby.
Oh, come on.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Even before this war, 78% of people in Gaza said they had, not enough food to eat.
Right. And why is that? Why are you blaming Israel?
In part, it's Hamas, and in part, it's the fact that Israel imposed a blockade and talked about putting them on a diet.
If your neighbor, first of all, Israel has no obligation. Israel built 3,000 hothouses and gave them for greenhouses. That would have made Gaza completely food self-sufficient, gave it to them as a gift, offered to rebuild the port of Gaza to make it the Singapore of the West. Hamas said, no, we don't want you money, we don't want you ideas. And what do? The international aid agencies have given Gaza more than 10 times per capita what we gave to rebuild all of Europe after the Marshall Plan.
Shut the punk up says fake super chat. This conversation is proof that we still need Franz for president. Dave Casey, weigh in. RFK or Franz?
RFK. But you know what? To his point, though, Ben has brought a lot of people into the LP. I think he recruited a couple Libertarian Party presidential candidates, and we made fun of that Franziak guy. But the way that the LP and Libertarians in general repel people, right? Just in general, whether you're talking about the way that Chase Oliver talks about Lou Rockwell or Dave Smith or Tom Woods, or the way that Libertarians jumped on Ben for bringing this guy into the party. No, we don't want that because he's this and he's gross and whatever. It's like or hey, the way that all these assholes are talking about RFK. He's not a real Libertarian. He's not this and that. For a moment, just take a moment and go, okay, is there any utility to this? Can this guy with 1 million follows, Franziak, I don't like him personally. Maybe he wouldn't convince my mom to vote Libertarian, but maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to bring in thousands of new members, right? So you could extrapolate that with the RFK thing, and it's a lot bigger. Now, granted, you could argue about his libertarian bona fides. We've already done that ad nauseum tonight. But I will say that anybody who's trying to bring people in, be a little bit more chill. Like, let you be a utilitarian about it. I knew from the beginning that, and I'm pretty sure Ben did too, Chris Franziak was not going to be the LP nominee. But you could use that guy if we wouldn't have been such dicks to him in the very beginning, and be a little bit more welcoming. Maybe he would have used his platform and his OnlyFans to be like, yo, go check out the LP or something like that. But we didn't. We repelled him like we do with Maj and Eric July and anybody else who does anything cool. You know what I mean? That's what we do.
Got Dave over here defending everybody and also being anti everybody. I kind of like it. Good. Broadening the spectrum. Does anybody got anything to weigh in on that? We've got a lot of things in the chats, but we're not going to get to everything.
Franz over RFK.
Let me just point out about the Franziak conversation. We do tolerate we tolerate a lot of different personalities and backgrounds in this party. So in talking in perspective about RFK Jr., I don't mean to be condescending or rude. Sorry, Dave. The point is, though, we have that is a reality. We tolerate people running for office, even internal office of the party, that have had zero involvement in the party, zero skin in the game, zero history or accomplishments, and some of them don't even have much of a professional background.
Hector? Who cares? Who cares how much time they spent in the party? What's that do for you, bro?
No, I'm talking about generally the accomplishment issue, right? So when we're here talking about the potential, here tonight is talking about potential, the possibility of having a little bit of hope, where people just generally don't have any, and the idea that we're going to go around in circles, talk about how negative things are, and the reality of the outcomes of the libertarian candidates, and regardless of whoever it is. We have to change this conversation somehow, and hopefully this conversation tonight in regards to RFK Jr. May just contribute to a somewhat better outcome. That's it.
I want to ask you guys real quick. I mean, have we helped persuade you guys a little bit more to be more sympathetic towards an RFK LP run, or just support him in general? Have we made a bit of a difference?
I stand where I stood before. I say let anybody run in the Libertarian Party. Let the Libertarians push whoever they want. Let the delegates decide. I know that that's a wishy-washy stance, but I'm for anybody. RFK is not my guy, but if I think that he has value, I agree with Dave. So yeah, I can kind of go both ways. But Dave, do you have anything to add to that? Because I've kind of agreed with you most of this time.
No, I mean, he's still not my guy, and I think that we can do better. That's why I have a guy. Not to suck my own dick, but I planted my flag there early. I have a guy. Right. But look, no, dude, even that, look, man, I'll put Toad, Josh, Clint, and Rec in the same category. But if I'm being really real, we're talking, it's Rec or Josh. Toad is not showing up, and he's not raising money. He's awesome, and he's great at debates, and I think that he's a kick-ass dude. And like David, that's my kind of bro. I want to hang out with Toad. He's my friend. I met him in person a couple times. I like him, but he's not going.
I don't know if David likes being compared to Toad, but go ahead.
I just mean, look, we have to be real. Those guys are our boys. They fall on our end of the spectrum, but he's not going to be the guy. So we have to be real. He's not going to be the guy. 0% chance. 0% chance. So even Josh, I would understand why people would vote for Josh, but I think he's got a real uphill battle. I don't think he has the delegates to make it. If I were Josh, if he's watching this show, bro, you should call up Rec and be like, bro, we need to fucking forge an alliance in this bitch, because fucking Chase and Lars are getting together and they're forming this Prague thing that, who knows? I would try and get with my people. That's what I would do. That's my advice to him. But my point is, we have an option to run somebody radical, or we have this extra option, once in 30-year thing where we could do something a little bit different. I would not propose this as running him as a libertarian, or this is a libertarian solution. I would think about it more as okay, the LP is going through a growth period right now, and we don't have our shit together, and we can't agree on shit, and we don't want fucking the candidates I already listed. We don't need a fucking vaxxed prag getting up there selling the shit. I'm sorry. I'll be out forever. But
We
if
gotta
you
get through
are
this.
about
Fake
votes,
super chat, Justico Mitchell. Sorry, Dave. Fake super chat.
Yep.
This is Gay and Retarded Best Tower Gang episode yet. Thank you very much. Rachel Blackfire says, "Free Palestine." I am sorry, you're gonna have to light yourself on fire for anybody to care. Justico Mitchell says, "Fake super chat, fake super chat." That is about where my brain's at right now. Chris O says, "Fake super chat to bring in leaders that everyone agreed we need. It's going to take a strategy that grows the party. That's what it will be. That's what it will be required to pull someone like Thomas Massey in the future." Okay. Fake super chat from Kate Paris. Quote, "I don't care if RFK has dead bodies in his basement." Hector, your thoughts?
Ouch. Like if the takeaway tonight was, personal slams, I'm like, well, I mean, that's why the party doesn't grow.
You started the slams, bro. You started the snark.
What can I say? I'm guilty. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I'm guilty.
I
have to grow up too.
I'm
Look
a
at that.
bystander.
I'm doing my
here.
best.
It's all good.
Yeah, I hope you don't think that I didn't lob any personal insults at anybody tonight. I thought it would be Fite, if anybody, but right? Nobody.
No, we were
over there like
pretty
eat
chill.
yourselves alive. Fight's just over there like all you RFK supporters just eat each other. It's fine. I don't need to do anything here.
It's kind of great. You guys have disagreed with each other on so much.
For people in the chat to say that RFK actually is like in a modern sense vaxxed is ridiculous. It just goes to show that they had no idea that for the last 20 years he's been on this issue on a tear. The level of misinformation and ignorance going on here, that's just crazy.
I'm with you on that.
Do you believe that he required vaccine passports to enter a private event that he had at his house with his wife?
I heard those rumors. I mean, maybe his wife forced him. Maybe his wife just made a big deal out of it or whatever. I don't think RFK would fall for that bullshit.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead. We've gone very long-winded here, as we do on this show, but I do want to end on one final thought. You guys can give I'll give you each 2 minutes or whatever you want. You can plug whatever you want. You can give your final statements, but I want to know if you are for RFK, what is your plan to get RFK to be the nominee? If you're not for RFK, what's your plan to keep him out? And if you're somewhere in the middle, what's your plan for life? We'll go ahead and start with Dave. Dave, you're the resident here, and you took over the show tonight.
Yeah.
So you started out.
So my recommendation to the Mises Caucus members, the people who are controlling this party, and Libertarian delegates and voters is you should try to move the Overton window as far as you can towards liberty as quickly as you can. We don't have fucking time to fuck around. So my recommendation is to take that to the maximum level that you possibly can. That is the anarcho-capitalist message. That is, I would like a COVID champion, somebody who understood the issues of the day, somebody who understands not only just the nature of the state, but also the fascist nature of the regime, the globalist, corporatist, technocratic apparatus, right? Rec definitely does that. RFK has a little bit of that too, or at least lip service. But I would beg you guys to think about what the purpose of the Libertarian presidential candidate is, right? This happens every 4 years. And David, I made a comment about your age earlier. I'm older, dude. I'm 43. I've seen this go around, and I don't have that much patience. And I'm like, 4 years means a lot to me. It's like, and I've seen, if I'm going to participate in it, I'm going to try my hardest to get what I want, not just who they put up, right? So if we want votes, we should nominate D's nuts. Let me tell Chase Oliver that had D's nuts been on the Senate ticket in 2022 in Georgia, D's nuts would have got double your votes, Chase. Okay? Because it's not about you, bro. It's not about the beautiful legal philosophy. It's about the fuck you vote. That's what the third box always is. Always. Because we're not there yet. RFK could be right now. That's a different one. That guy has a brand name, and that's a fuck you box, and also a celebrity. So that's different. But for what we're doing, you better try and either do the principled thing and run principled libertarian who can go on an educational tour and try and lobby the country to move towards our direction, and understand that it's not about getting votes. It's not about a libertarian revolution this election cycle. It's about beginning the very hard, long, generational work that it will take to maybe course correct. That's what I'm saying. I know that's a hard sell. It's not a political sell. That's not what a president would do, is come in and go, you know what? Because they come in and go, I'm the guy and I'm going to fix your problems and it's going to take me 2 years, right? That's Trump's whole thing. That is not, I know that's not a winning political message, but at least you have a choice. If you want the ballot access and you want all the dollars and you want all the shit, you're going to have to make a concession. And I think you should take RFK up on his offer, because nobody else can offer you what he can. And you're going to have to make some concessions, like, yeah, he might come for your guns if he's elected, but I would consider it.
At Dave versus Goliath 1 on Twitter, and Michael Rechtenwald.
Go radical or go home.
All right. I do want to end on David Fite, because you've been the underdog in this, and I want to give you the last say. Hector, you go ahead next. 2 minutes.
Well, thank you each and every one of you for putting up with me today. I have a lot of strong opinions because I'm about similar age to Dave here. I don't think we have a lot of time. And one thing I will say is that I look at RFK and I see a guy who's basically plays the Batman character. I mean, in all this, this is the guy who grew up with his family, the highest profile assassinations in American history. This is the guy who actually eyewitnessed his own father's assassination. And so
in person,
I want you guys to remember, in person. Yes, he was there. He was like 13.
Nice.
At the hotel. Right.
Based.
So what we have to realize is that what his upbringing is in terms of like anti-statism comes from a very real place. And so for people who, there is a strong instinct from this guy who has come up from not trusting what government tells him. And he has recognized at the core of the issue is exactly what Ron Paul says, is the core of the problems of our government, that we have regulatory capture, that we have that our Constitution has failed to keep our government limited, to keep it within any reasonable bounds. And this is a guy who's come a long way to free market philosophy. And now, given his celebrity and his stature, he is even interested in being the nominee for the Libertarian Party. A person of that stature has never, ever even paid any attention to this party, and is only doing so now because he needs every vote he can get and every support he can. And frankly, he probably needs our ballot access. And he does not have the big army infrastructure. He's raising some money, I guess, but he needs us like we need him too. And that's what we're here to talk about. Is there enough interest from this party to invite him to be our nominee?
Follow-up question: how do we get him? Because that was the main question. What is your plan to get him in?
Ask the delegates. We just have to ask the delegates. Our goal for the next couple of weeks is to ask delegates, what do you think? Would you even welcome this? Get it in writing. If enough of people actually say that there's enough interest, maybe he'll actually go ahead and make an announcement. But right now, he hasn't heard. He hasn't really gotten any feedback. And I think, and that's part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to see if there is enough support to recruit him to do just that.
Gotcha.
Will you guys vote for him if he's not on the LP, like regardless, independent or not?
I would. Yeah.
All right, George, go ahead.
I probably would.
All right, guys. I'm usually a big Hayekian, but I'm gonna go full Rothbard for you guys here. Okay, I'm a button pusher, right? We want to end the state as soon as possible, and no one is going to actually reduce the state as much as possible as an RFK run. If he decides to run as a libertarian, I think the best we can do is to help him do that, to bring his millions of followers and so on. We will spread the ideas of capitalism, anti-warmongering, and thus help reduce the state a lot more than would otherwise be the case. If he decides to run on his own, then us libertarians, let us try to join his campaign and make it more anti-state, take our message of Austrian economics and help educate all those clueless leftists. So that's what I think is the best way for those of us who really care about really reducing the state. If you just want to run around thinking like you were the most principled candidate, and that's what you want to have in your belt, then you vote for one of the principal candidates and you get your 1%, and you end up not spreading the ideas that actually manage to reduce the state. And one can feel proud about that. And we only really need to spread two ideas. The price of everything goes up because the Fed is printing more money, and it is the private sector that turns the entire planet into a supercomputer where every private sector company is innovating and copying the innovations of others. The government is a coercive, competition-immune bureaucracy that doesn't have to learn. It just consumes more than it produces, and it destroys civilization. We gotta be Misesians and have the faith that we can educate the masses. And once we become a beacon of that, we will do it. We're never gonna have a revolution within an election cycle if we keep waiting that it's gonna be 10 years or 30 years, or we're never gonna educate people. Nonsense. All of these people, they're no different than you and me. Just like we learned, everybody else can learn. And I'll give
Bro,
back.
I loved that. I just think it's funny that like you're like, yo guys, imagine if like RFK dropped this Rothbardian knowledge on everybody. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't
Dave,
know. I love that when you said it.
Dave,
he could.
we are
Sorry.
closing statements.
Sorry,
Maybe we'll have a final brawl.
I love
like
no, that was a good
2
that was
minutes.
good.
Everybody talk over each other.
I like
as
what he
soon as
said.
we're done here. David Fite, go ahead. What is your plan to keep RFK out? And any final thoughts? 2 minutes.
I don't think I really have to do anything. Like it's been said multiple times over by all three of us. It's not going to happen. He doesn't have the infrastructure. He doesn't have the votes. He doesn't have the support. It's not going to happen. I don't honestly think that I have to do much, but also because it doesn't look like he's going to try. He hasn't really, again, he hasn't shown any effort in wanting it. And this gives strong vibes to all of the people that thought that Tulsi was going to run as a libertarian after she dropped out of the Democratic Party. And I knew that that wasn't going to happen because I was on her campaign, and I knew that she didn't give a single solitary fuck about the libertarians except for the ones that could vote for her. Like, it's not going to happen. He doesn't want it. We don't want it. This is honestly a pretty ridiculous conversation to be having. But even if he did try to come in and dilute what is libertarianism, we would do better off to run anyone who is an actual libertarian and understands the ideals and the philosophies of this party and this movement, and isn't going to fall for the next big thing like he did for the last one pretty hard.
Didn't even need his full 2 minutes. Now, you all have made a lot of great points tonight, and I still land squarely, and I don't care. But I do want to spend, since you had 2 minutes to give your closing statements, and none of you said where people can find you or anything, and some of you had some pushback on some of the closing statements, I'm going to go against RFK and be full-on libertarian because freedom is anarchy. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to argue over each other as libertarians do. Get all your plugs in that you didn't get in before. 2 minutes. Anybody can say whatever they want. Anybody can talk over. Anybody can be as snarky as they want.
Libertariansforcandidacy.com. Thank you very much.
2 minutes. Go yell over each other. Go. Yeah. Final thoughts.
At David the Fite, at Fight for Liberty, at Free Speech Media Corp. Check me out. Do a great show every Wednesday night.
Guys, let's break free from the paradigm of the past. Let us not follow in the footsteps of the idiots before us. Let us use this vehicle for something other than vote chasing and fucking social clubs. Let us be creative. Let us use this engine. Let us make it a fucking engine for propaganda and for lobbying, because that's how shit gets done. Votes doesn't do anything. You will get nothing from this party if you chase them. You should try and change the culture. Begin the very hard work, the long generational process of making more libertarians. That's my recommendation to you.
Agreed. Lars24.com.
Oh my God. Unrig the murder cult. Let's fucking go.
Guys, so I'll mention again, libertariansforcandidacy.com. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at Hayekian.
Dave versus Goliath 1. I'm talking over you. I got a YouTube channel. It's fucking cool. Every month I do a show-ish. And you can catch me.
There are no rules. Anybody can jump in. You still got
the
45 seconds left.
RFK on Twitter. Libertarians RFK.
40 seconds.
Yo, I'm down with that. I'm down with the COVID shit. I'm down with fucking shutting down Monsanto. Get the fluoride out of the water. Quit turning the frogs gay. do all that shit with RFK. He's the only one on that. No one's talking about that shit over here. So keep up that great work, RFK squad.
And if you have, if you can check out our social media and really see the video that Dan's made for Libertarians for Kennedy. Thanks.
Yeah, we have a really nice 10-minute video with a lot of great stuff for the campaign.
Nah.
And that is the 2 minutes of anarchy. Thank you all for playing, and whoever decided to sit out, you are just proving that you're not taking human action or something. But when given 2 minutes to talk over each other, Libertarians suddenly got a little bit more quiet than usual. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for giving your thoughts. You guys are all awesome, and I would like you all to keep doing whatever you can for liberty, whatever way you think is the best. And even if we disagree with each other, if you're pushing for the right cause, I support you to at least some degree. Thank you guys, and to all of you in the chats, thank you for hanging out with us tonight on this lovely primetime 3-hour fucking episode. Holy shit! Follow me at TSIDpod on Twitter. Dan at TSIDpod.com is my email if you want to come yell at me. And we'll see y'all next time. Until then, question everything, stay uncomfortable. Be bad, have fun, vote your conscience, or don't vote if that's your conscience. We'll talk to you next time. Peace out.
Welcome to the system, everyone's a victim. Doesn't matter if you're black or white, it hates you all. Here is how the system, violence is a symptom. Fighting for what's right, but somehow everyone is wrong.